Good morning. What's going on? How are we doing? It's another great day in the world of monsters and memories. Finish getting everything set up here. Okay. So, let's see what happened over the weekend. Let's see what happened, if anything happened over the weekend. We'll check out some of the forums here. Which tank for trio? What made you quit? Huh. Which tank for trio? Well, let's look. Actually, I kind of want to talk about tanks today. Tanks are a big topic that I like to talk about because I, myself, am a tank. And, I usually tank for my group, my guild. Started doing that back in 2004. Going to be playing with a cleric and either druid or a shaman. And I've been trying to decide which tank class to play alongside them. I played an SK in the beta, but not for very long, level 5 or so. Didn't really get much of the feel for the class. I've not tried any of the others, so wondering if anyone had any advice on which tank would be good or bad. You know, that's a tough call. I don't like to really look like for duos. I would almost always go shaman with somebody else, right? If they're going to be going cleric and a druid or shaman, they're already kind of hurting themselves. What does Druid have? Druid has like placate. Well, unification. There we go. We'll just say that. Good morning, Baron. How you doing, bud? Welcome. All right, we're just kind of going through, reading chat again. Just kind of seeing what happened over the weekend. What made you quit? Is this, how old is this? How do we go to the top? The heck? I can jump to the most recent. What made you quit? This is, wow. Oh, this is just like what made you quit in general. Warrior, Monk, and Archer. Copy paste. Of the classes we enjoy, it appears these three have great kits, but just kind of disappear around 12 to 15. Yeah. Without getting into much detail, the idea of progressively tossing out the skill sets at 20, 30, 40, etc., and giving them a quick flush and relevant. I see people trying them and usually just stopping outright when they witness or realize. Unfortunately, I understand the cheese factor to this. There's a building block on the board and the kits. Let's see. Thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate it. What's going on, Haas? How you doing, bud? So yeah, like I'm just kind of answering a few questions on here, hopefully to help people out, with their stuff. I like to go in and try to answer questions. I feel like since I am able to play the game a lot, I know a lot about the game. I try to help. Some people don't like my answers though, so I kind of stopped answering some questions. Where's the tin ore limestone now? Find tin is silver in Fallen Pass. Now seems only iron in Fallen Pass. There's still tin in Iron Pass. It is still there, and there's still limestone in Fallen Pass. I can guarantee that because I found some yesterday. But yeah, one of the things I want to talk about today though are the tanks. What is Dread Mist? Is that M&M Zone? No. Is Dread Mist coming up? It shouldn't say anything about Dread Mist. Let me look. Is that what YouTube is saying? I'll have to fix that. Yeah, I don't know. But Dread Mist is a game. It's an MMO. I did try it. Yeah, I played Dread Mist on Saturday, and I wasn't really like I don't know. It was okay. But it was super laggy for me, like crazy laggy for me, and I don't really know why. I did play it again on Sunday briefly, and on Sunday it was way less laggy, but I don't know. The game, you can level up super fast. The max level's 25. You could probably get there in one day. then it's just grinding out in-game stuff. Like, I want a social MMO experience. That's a good game to jump into and just play by yourself. And if you find a group to group up, go do some dungeons. But it's not gonna keep anyone occupied long term. It's just not. I played maybe 9 hours, got to like 22. I'm probably done with it. Yeah, that's how I feel, Haas. That's how I feel. You can play, for a little bit, play for a few hours. Yeah, like a simple Diablo kind of game. I'd agree. I would agree. Video embargo. What is this about? I've been learning new terms of late. I'm confused seeing. Been watching streamers who are doing a great job advertising for you. I did do a search on video embargo before. Can someone link what material has been released? Sounds like nothing has released. What? People are allowed to stream and take video during public playtests, but alpha participants are asked not to publicly share information from the alpha builds. That's it. That right there sums it up. That is pretty much, that's it. There's nothing else really to be said. So if you did it in the open playtest, talk about it all you want. Show it off. That's fine. That's pretty much it. Which do you prefer? AoE Mez? No. No, I don't want AoE Mez. I mean, having an AoE Mez is good, but it should have a short duration, I feel like. Yeah, like I want to talk about tanks today at some point. We're going to get down there to it here in a minute. I'm just kind of going through what things were said and done over the weekend. Not necessarily a bug, so I wasn't sure where to put this. Currently, if you open the client directly instead of from the launcher, you're greeted with an error. Oh, I saw this. Yeah, I saw this. And I responded to it. They're supposed to be getting yeah, they're supposed to be getting a new launcher, which hopefully will resolve some of these issues that we're having with the launcher. Because there is a bad memory leak. Very, very bad memory leak. Did we get an update today? Let's see. I'm curious. We'll see if we got an update. I don't think we got one last night. Because I was on... Well, I was only on until like 9 or 10. Yeah, we didn't get one. Damage output issues. Uh-oh. See, physical magical attacks either missed, resisted, dealt 1 damage can be really demoralizing. Any thoughts? Don't go after red cons. Build morale. Golly. Play healer support. I just don't attack at all. Just give the monsters a hard stare down. I feel like that's that's an enchanter move, right? You just like stare at them, be like, "Don't you move." Oh. They would add a purple rank above red, like in DOC. I mean, I don't think you should be going after red cons at all. I think that's a bad idea. The only player that should be going after red cons would be a healer, right? If your group is like 5 levels ahead of you, let them do whatever they want to do. And as long as you can keep the tank and the group alive, you're going to be getting insane XP. Insane. I highly recommend, as a healer class, if you're playing a healer, get into a group with as high level players as you possibly can. And you'll be getting very, very good XP. The catch-up mechanics in this game are actually very good. Especially as like a cleric who can't really solo all that well. They're going to be benefiting hard. So, yeah. I'm in early, in before chat gets crazy. What's up, Dolce and Katana? How are you? We'll see if chat gets crazy today. Who knows? Who knows? You know, it's hit or miss around here, right? It's really hit or miss. Sometimes we get a lot of people in and they just want to chat. Sometimes we get a lot of people in and nobody wants to chat. Sometimes we get a few people in and they all want to chat. And then sometimes we get a few people and nobody wants to chat. It's literally, it's like feast or famine. It's crazy. It's craziness. But now, welcome in. Glad to have you here, my friend. Hope you're still excited for the game. Double wipe incoming. What does that mean? Glad I enjoy. This guy literally, every single one of his posts then links to one of Nick's streams. Glad I enjoyed the level up the most. NPCing I did. TLP. Think of the monk sand art. You're welcome for the game. Idea for monks here. What? Double wipe ink. I don't understand. Hey, what's going on, Rights? How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. So you won't have access to your alpha characters in beta, technically not a wipe. But yeah, again, no issue for someone who thinks the best thing about MMO is to level up. Okay. Is he thinking beta? So yeah, so beta, they're doing two things. What he's talking about here and what I think he's referring to, just for anybody that is not in the know or doesn't keep up with everything, they're going to be doing beta in March 1st is the planned date for beta. And that's going to be a closed beta. And they're going to hopefully, they've said they're going to try to add in a lot of people for that. They want to get up to maybe 500 concurrent users for the beta. Right now, we're getting somewhere around 200 to 250 at the peak hours and around 100 to 150 in the off-peak hours. That's what we're looking at on the closed alpha right now. Closed beta, they want to get up to 250. When the closed beta hits March 1st, they are going to be doing a temporary wipe. So what that means is they're going to be basically opening up a brand new server, right? Brand new server. Everything is going to be as if it was a fresh early access start for that March 1st beta. Every character on there is going to be brand new, fresh level 1. Then, after some time, undetermined amount of time, they're going to bring back the characters that are already in the closed alpha to allow them to play with those new beta characters. They want to give enough time for those brand new characters to see how the leveling is going to go, and to see like where the bottlenecks are, things of that nature. I'll be playing a brand new character on the open or on the closed beta. Probably a tank. Well, 99% sure it's going to be a tank. But I'm looking at, right now I'm looking at Paladin. Because I don't feel like enough people are playing Paladin. You opted in, hope you get in. I do too. I hope everyone gets in. I can't wait to see the fresh start. Yeah. I'm excited for it for a couple of reasons. I think a really good thing about the open or the closed beta coming in, and getting a brand new fresh start is we're going to be able to see how quickly people can level up and the economy, how that's going to work. Because the economy is pretty borked on the alpha because people have been playing for so long. There's been some bugs, and a lot of that stuff wasn't really wiped. It wasn't taken out of the game. It was just like, okay, we found a bug. Let's just fix the bug and move on. It's not really a big deal on the closed server. But it does make it difficult to see things like how is the leveling process going to be for brand new players, right? So if the leveling is awful for brand new players, we're not going to know because so many people that are coming into the alpha right now are immediately just like, hey, does anybody have stuff? And there's a lot of people that are just like, here's a bag, here's a whole set of bags, here's some starting weapons, here's an extra gold to buy your spells, here's this, here's that. And it's just, it's skewing those numbers. So they're not able to see what is actually like the leveling process on a brand new fresh start server. They're able to see a little bit, but there's a lot of skewed stuff, because especially when people have like a level 60 character on the alpha, and then somebody comes in with a brand new character that's a friend of theirs. I mean, I had a friend that finally was able to get in, and we just basically gave him all of his money, and then another friend of mine just power leveled him. Like, in a matter of a couple days, he was like level 50. Well, he's not 50 yet. He's like 40 something. But just in a matter of a couple days, he hit 40. Like, it's just ridiculous. So, yeah, we need to be able to see that stuff. I'm playing Inquisitor, obviously. Absolutely love the class. I'm glad that you like that, Magicot. Yeah, you're the one that wrote up that big thing about Inquisitors. And I'm glad that you jumped into that class, enjoyed the class, wrote up something on it, and said, hey, this is my experience as the Inquisitor. This is what's good and bad. You are part of the reason, by the way, that I'm not going to play an Inquisitor, because we already have a very good person that's giving feedback for the Inquisitor, playing it, enjoying it, and saying, here's the good, here's the bad. And you're not just quitting because of the bad side of it. You're like, hey, I really like this class. I like the idea of the class. However, it's lacking in this area. Can we discuss that? And I think you're a very good advocate for the Inquisitor class. We don't need another one. I think you're doing a great job. So you're part of the reason that I kind of I'm leaning towards Paladin as far as when beta comes out. I just don't feel like enough people are playing Paladin, and they're kind of quitting by the time they hit level 10, 15, because they see the other classes just kind of shining above them. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Inquisitor main stand up. There you go. Yeah, Dolce and Katana plays Inquisitor as well. Yeah, it'd be nice to hear your perspective on Paladin. I think it'd be nice to hear anyone's perspective on Paladin other than Paladins suck, because there's so many people that just say that Paladin is awful. I don't think it's that awful, but I also think that we don't have enough information on it because people are not playing it enough. I think Paladin's going to be a very good self-sustain class and great at specific things, right? Give them a two-handed weapon. They're going to be doing just as much damage as a Shadow Knight for their melee damage, because Shadow Knights, Paladins basically use the same gear, right? The Shadow Knight's going to do a little bit more damage because they have dots and life taps, whereas the Paladin's going to be slightly more defensive with their heals and their armor aura. I did test a little bit more of the armor. I feel like armor is working. Maybe it needs to be looked at and just, refined a little bit, but armor definitely works. So, yeah, more armor, more better. I hope they put a beginner dungeon in Evershade. It needs one for the Elfland. I think they are, from what I've heard from Nick and Sean. I think they are putting a dungeon over there. It would be awesome if they would put like an orc dungeon. There's some kind of mini dungeons over there where you can kind of go under, like in the cave areas and stuff, but not like a true dungeon like we have Wormsbane, right, or Ancient Crypt. Nothing like that. It would be nice to have a big orc dungeon for low-level orcs over there, or goblins would be a really good one to have over there. But orcs specifically, because in a lot of fantasy, orc and elves don't get along. They clash. Lord of the Rings, right? So that would be awesome. Yeah, I think we need that. I also hope that those mushroom people that are over there in the Elfland area, Phalandraw, I hope that they have a dungeon as well that goes deeper, that starts on the surface with some mushroom people out on the top, and then you go into the dungeon and it starts to go down, kind of like you're going down into the Underdark, so the deep areas. That would be really awesome to see, and then it gets higher and higher and higher level of basically Myconids from D&D, which are the whatchamacallit folk, the fungal folk. That's what I would like to see. But we'll see what happens. So to get in as a new player and go straight to the vendor and buy rusted iron, that was an insane start. Yeah. You're talking about on the closed alpha, yeah. And that's the thing, on the closed alpha, you can go buy jewelry. you know, pretty high-level jewelry. You can buy bags or get bags from people. You can buy weapons. When I first started on the alpha, they had mithril weapons just sitting there on the vendor. Like, what the heck, dude? I could just buy a mithril weapon for like a few silver. You know, it gave you a really, really good start. Because DPS is king. DPS is always king. I've been watching a bunch of Monster Hunter videos, and one of them mentioned the possibility of some race class combinations being unlockable in the future through some kind of in-game event. I really hope they lean into this. Yeah, that's going to be the Goblin... Was it a Goblin Enchanter or Goblin something? I forget who it was. But yeah, they were going to do something like that. I remember in 2004, decided to go through the Betrayal quest, EQ2, Dark Elf. Could defect to Kinos and become a monk. I did the whole quest line in Freeport, got killed, and booted to the Commons. Met up with another group of betrayers trying to grind faction and gain acceptance. We got blocked at one point until we ran into 40-something Dark Elf Paladin who showed us around and helped us kill the last Null boss. All in all, I think it took 3 or so days. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. These are the kind of stories that I like, right? Doing something, you know, kind of out of the norm. Throw a real temper tantrum and stomp my whole foot if I can't make a Drow Ranger. Be cool. Be cool. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that. That's why I like D&D 5th edition. I'm a big fan of D&D 5th edition because they don't lock you into a specific race class combo, and they don't lock you into a specific what do they call it? Like lawful good or whatever. Like paladins can be chaotic evil paladins, and you can be a dark elf chaotic evil paladin in 5th edition if you want to, which I really like. Question about in-game, that's my speed right there. What is your question about in-game? Because I love in-game stuff. In the FAQ, it says, we're focusing on single group content and ensuring that it remains viable as the primary form of gameplay. That line is the #1 reason I became interested in the game. There are other reasons, but that's a big one. If they stick to that, it will be the reason I will overlook any other thing I don't like about the game, but I'm starting to wonder about it. I know there still will be multi-group raid content. There is the expedition thing, which appears to primarily be about large raids. Okay, so what single group in-game content is there going to be? If the focus is going to remain on single group content, will there be single group content that provides in-game progression? What is it? Where is it? Well, these two things you're probably not going to get an answer to because nobody's doing that in the open alphas. I haven't heard anything about it yet. Now, to be fair, I don't have time to watch every video the devs make, so when I do, I skip through it. Miss a lot of info. Does anyone know about this? Yeah, I mean, I can just talk about this kind of briefly, but we can't go into a lot of detail. There's a lot of stuff in this game. I personally, I was going to make a post on it soon, I think. The raid content in this game is too easy, in my opinion, so it needs to be tweaked some without going into any detail there. I love your M&M summaries. Keep it up. Thank you so much, Christopher. I appreciate that, bud. Yeah, but I think that the raid content is a little bit too easy, and that's because they're trying to gear it towards small multi-groups, but smaller multi-groups, like 2 to 3 groups. So a well-played single group that is super geared can probably do a lot of the group content, or a lot of the raid content, which kind of makes it like, well, okay, well, why even have a guild, and why even like really go out? Like, why even have raids if it's going to be that easy? I personally feel like they're too easy. They can also a lot of times be cheesed. A lot of encounters in this game can be cheesed. They can be kited. Like, a lot of things can just be kited around. So, yeah, the whole in-game thing, it's a big question. I'm a big fan of raids. I want there to be tougher raids. I want there to be very, very tough raids. But the problem is that you can throw as many people as you want at a mob. There's no limit. Like, they don't stop you from having 100 people go in and kill one thing. So it's going to make any type of in-game raiding too easy. So I don't know how they're going to fix that, or if they want to fix that. You know, I feel like right now, if you get enough people together, you can literally kill anything you want. So it's gonna be tough. Not going to be a whole weekly lockout raid repeat for months, but there's expedition raids, world events, world bosses, also new content zones, dungeon. Yeah. Appear that nobody has an answer for me. Have the devs not really said anything about this? To sum up my question, what specifically is their plan for keeping the focus on single group content? Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. That's all I can say about this, honestly. That's literally all I can say about this. Haas, it looks like you answered in here. Talk excessively about expeditions being a big part of the in-game. Source collection. Allow 6-member groups, potentially 12, 18 members to have difficult areas to embark that require more coordination to enter. Fight, loot, harvest. Yeah. What do you all think about raids and stuff? Like, I personally want there to be bigger raids. I want there to be larger raids. I would like to see, you know, up to 60-man raids, which would be 10 groups. But the problem is with that is, like I was saying, there's no raid frames or anything of that nature. It's going to be highest DPS wins. So with that in mind, what's going to happen when you take your guild, say 3 groups, to a raid boss, and one group comes in that's not part of your guild that has nothing but high-level DPS in it? Be them wizards, archers, rangers, or not rangers, wizards, archers, rogues, whatever they put in there, and they actually get the kill shot or the XP or whatever you want to call it, and they get the loot rights. What happens then? That's where I'm afraid. I think that's what's going to be a big problem in this game. Huge problem. I like raids, but dislike in-game raid culture. I mean, I can get behind that, Magicon. Yeah, I don't mind what they do, but they need to be clear and set out their plan. I can't work if they want at this point. It can't work if they want at this point, or it can. So, I mean, I see a lot of issues with it, right? I see a lot of issues with it. What's going to end up happening is the largest guild on the server is going to... They're going to be the ones that hold the raids. They're going to lock them down. If they have a huge guild that just can muster up together and go do stuff, earthquake happens, large guild sends out their minions, boom, kills mobs, nobody else on the server ever sees them. So that's going to be problem A, right? Problem B is going to be, who's going to stop you from getting a group of high DPS in one group and getting the credit and looting the item? Is instance raiding not a possibility? Instancing is not what they want to do. I can work out what they want, yeah. Flag for a raid per week. No, they're not doing anything like that. No, there's going to be no instancing at all in this game. Now, one thing that they do in this game is allow players to spawn enemies, right? One of the quests that I did in around the level 30, high 30 range, you can actually do this quest. Actually, I would say in the low 30s, you can start the quest. High 30s, you can finish the quest. And that is, you go and you collect items. You have to collect 4 different pages, put them into a book, combine them, go to another area, spawn boss. That boss drops loot. So that's something that they are doing. They also have quests that spawn other things. There's a lot of quests and stuff in the game where you go and you do something, you collect some things, and then you turn them in and it spawns another NPC. And that NPC is where you actually get your loot from. So that's one way that they're kind of fixing that, is they're saying you're going to be able to spawn your own raid boss possibly, right? You're going to be able to collect the items needed to spawn your own raid boss. So if they do it that way, everybody is going to have like a fair advantage, because your guild just gets together and everybody just goes and tries to collect these things, and then you just spawn X boss however many times. You get your grade. Hey, we're going to go raid this boss on Friday night at 6 o'clock. Everybody bring all of your spawnable items with you, right? And then everybody shows up and you spawn boss however many times your guild has accumulated that for. That's a good way to do it, right? It's a pretty good way, and it works out fairly well. But then you also have world bosses and expeditions, which are kind of more contested. Certain things could just happen. Sean talked about this several times. Based on the moon phase, something could happen, right? Based on certain events going on in the game, a certain boss might spawn, and you have to muster up your guild to get there. That's where the issue is going to come in, is that at that point, you need to get your entire guild, or as many people as you can, to that location as quickly as possible. It's going to be a huge race to then hopefully fight that. But what happens when one group of high DPS players shows up and just beats you out, right? And just wins the DPS race. So it's going to be a problem. Bone Dragon? Yeah, that's the Bone Dragon thing, right? Magicot, the one where you have to collect the 4 items from the rat cave, and then you can spawn that Bone Dragon thing. So that's one way they're doing it. How does it work on a PvE server? First guild to get together and get to the boss wins? Well, I don't know. That's the thing. We don't know how it's going to work, because right now it's, if you have claimed a camp, then you own that general area, right? So then if somebody else comes in and kill steals you, then you don't get it. But what's to say when 2 guilds come together with 3 groups each at a raid boss, and they just, because it just spawned, 2 guilds come together, they have 3 total groups each, that's 6 groups, and they all attack this raid boss at the same time. What's to say who gets the kill? At that point, it becomes a DPS race. So whoever creates the 6-man wizard party just gets it because they had 6 wizards. But, you know, maybe Guild A had the tank and the healers to be able to actually control the fight, but Guild B had way more DPS, but they are going to get the kill shot, and they're going to get credit because they had the DPS. That's where the problem's going to come in, I think. If the raid location is large enough and has multiple spawn locations, it could work well. Maybe, but I mean, if that's the thing, is as soon as the raid pops, people are just going to run straight. They're going to go, raid popped, run straight to it, right? You're going to have people in certain zones with tracking. They're going to know where they spawn. Maybe it's multiple locations. They're going to put 3 or 4 different people in different locations waiting for it to pop. You know, there's going to be an issue. Diablo 4 does that. The boys bring their mats and we down the boss over and over. The gear, yeah. Hide the clues in the lore mud system would be cool. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options there. Throne and Liberty was like that. Whichever guild did the most damage gets the loot. Yeah, and I think that's a problem, because you should need to have a tank and healers, right? If my guild is more of a slow burn type of guild, which in EverQuest 2 we kind of were. We were a tank healer heavy guild. Most of stuff in EverQuest 2, though, it would lock the encounter on whoever engaged it, and then you also had instances, so it wasn't really a big deal. We could take an hour to kill a boss if we wanted to, and it didn't matter. So I just see that as being a big problem. Because people are going to come in and they're going to steal stuff. Especially if raids are built around 2 to 3 groups, which means that you're not going to need a lot of DPS. So one group of people, not even a guild, one group of high DPS players together is going to be able to just steal all of the raid content in the entire game if they wanted to. As soon as it pops, just attack it. We got the item. Cool. Move on. Now, I feel like with the collecting of items and summoning the boss, that is going to be different, because whoever collected the items and summoned the boss, at least at that point, you can say, petition, we summoned the boss, somebody else killed it and stole the loot, right? That to me is an easily petitioned situation, and the GMs will be like, yeah, you spawned the boss, you get the loot. But in a random encounter that just happens to spawn in the middle of an open world area, kind of hard to say. I think there's a current MMO environment. They really need to take a serious look at instance raids. Yeah, I don't know. 5 wizards with teleport and huge DPS for the win. Exactly. Have 5 wizards and 1 druid in your group. You can teleport anywhere pretty quickly. You can get into a lot of locations very quickly through the usage of teleports. So, like, and then you have Spirit of the Wolf or Speed of the Wild, whatever. You have Speed of the Wild. So you can get to these locations very fast. You have a healer to heal up your wizards, and your wizards just nuke things down, win game, basically. They're going to be able to hog everything in the game. It's going to be a problem. I just hope that they fix it. You don't think Monster Men really have a toxic community, though? I think it absolutely will. Yeah. It absolutely will have a toxic community. I don't think it's going to be the majority. I think it is going to be the minority of the player base. But there's going to be people coming in this game that are just WoW type players. The WoW mentality of me. I join a guild for me, right? They're not there for the guild. They're there for themselves. And they're going to do everything they can. It's going to be sad. I'd say less XP for group per same class. Well, I mean, it's not a matter of less XP. It's in the case that we're talking about right now is in-game content. If you put several wizards into a group, they're going to be able to do the majority of damage, which gives them the kill credit to be able to loot the item. At level 60, nobody cares about XP, right? So that's not an issue. But I do agree with you, if we were talking about the XP side of things, if you have like 6 necromancers in a party together, all of them soloing in the same area, but they're all soloing, that's going to be some of the best XP in the game. Because a necromancer can solo very well and get a lot of XP. But then if you factor in the 6-player group bonuses, you put 6 players that are soloing in a group together, they get that bonus XP. They're a party of 6 necromancers or a party of 6 wizards or a party of 6 anything that can solo well is going to be insanely good at XP. Like really, really good. I think we have to look at the facts here. Monster Men are designed for dad gamers. We are now old. Kids will still will not stick around for this kind of game. Yeah, but you have to also think that there are dad gamers out there that are also jerks, right? You're thinking about yourself or like the people that you surround yourself with, but you're not thinking about there are people out there that are just jerks, and they are dad gamers. They're on Arc Raiders right now, and they're doing the same thing in Arc Raiders, right? Arc Raiders has a lot of dads, but I promise you, like we can hope and pray and whatever all day long that people that play Monsters and Memories are going to be good people, but who knows, right? Have your SK tank feign death and like the boss wreck the 5 wizards on top of the aggro. I mean, you could maybe that'll happen, but not necessarily. Didn't Monsters and Memories say they will have first to engage servers? No, they're not guaranteeing any of that. Wouldn't this resolve the two attacking at the same time? So yes and no, right? There is no guarantee of first to engage servers. The only servers we are definitely getting are going to be one box server, one no box server, and one PvP server. That's it. Those are the only thing they're guaranteeing us. Now, what they're probably going to do, based on the amount of players that play the game, they will probably have multiple no box servers and multiple box servers, maybe multiple PvP servers. I highly doubt there's going to be enough people wanting to be on a PvP server to have the need to have multiple PvP servers. They did say that maybe if the population is high enough, they will then open up additional servers with additional rule sets. Maybe. But nowhere did they say for sure. Can you buff NPC? Yeah, well, you can buff them. I think you have to charm them first before you can buff them. Why does it feel like my druid is more efficient soloer than my necro? Probably playstyle. Necro's a very good soloer, like really good. I'm pretty sure they said the same thing about EQ99, required a rig, required a credit card, required internet. I started at 13. Yeah. Thank you so much for the follow. Let's play. Appreciate it, bud. Can you try and help raid boss take down rival guilds? No, you can't really help the raid boss. I mean, you could try to train them and all that kind of stuff, but then you're getting into the play nice policy, right? Training people on purpose is against the play nice policy. So if I see a guild that is pulling a mob and I don't want them to pull it, you know, as a monk or a shadow knight or anybody that can feign death, you know, necromancer, I could go and grab a ton of mobs from all over the zone and just pull it straight on top of them and then feign death and then just let those mobs deal with it, and then my guild can come in. But that's against the play nice policy. You start doing stuff like that, and they will do something about that. So playing P99 now, kill time, and the community there is so good. They're just all nice people. You have been very fortunate. I imagine those are going to be the same community. Well, so like I know that there are guilds on P99 that will race to in-game content. They all raced to get there, and they, especially in the beginning of P99. I feel like now P99, a lot of the sweats have decided, hey, you know, I'm kind of done with P99. I'm going to move on. A lot of them are playing Monsters and Memories now. They're looking at other games. They're taking a break before Monsters and Memories comes out. Whatever. So yeah, but it's going to be the issue in the beginning. All of this is all maybes. Yeah, the players will figure out counterplay to all of this if they want to win. Well, they will. They will. But what is that going to be, right? Can't haste them. No, you can't haste the bosses. You can't buff anything. To my knowledge, you can't buff any NPC in the game without charming it first. And you can't charm any of the raid bosses or even named enemies. You can't charm them. Maybe there's no play nice when it comes to raid mobs. If there's no play nice policy when it comes to raid mobs, then it's going to be even worse. It's going to be an absolute disaster. Apparently on the PvP server, it's okay to train because Let's Go Champ was openly showing how he would train mobs to kill people, and he never got in trouble for it. And see, that to me is bad, right? That's just bad. I mean, that's why I won't play PvP. I refuse to play PvP in a game like this because you have certain players that are just going to be jerks to be jerks. They're going to kill you, and they're going to hide behind it's PvP server. I'm allowed to do it. Well, yeah, but just because you're allowed to doesn't mean you should. Right? Like, we can all agree on that. Just because you can does not always mean you should. And those are the types of people that are going to possibly ruin the game. I don't know about what's going on with Let's Go Champ and all that situation. I don't follow PvP stuff, but those are the types of people that are going to ruin the game for everybody else, in my opinion. So we'll have to see. Are you allowed to DPS race for mobs once someone has aggro? Do they own the mob? That Let's Play, that is what we're kind of discussing. Is yes. at least as far as Nick has said previously, is for the most part, if you have the camp, if you've been there camping a mob for, X amount of time, then you kind of own that area, the general area for the camp. So nobody can come in and DPS race you. If they do DPS race you and you petition, hey, I've been camping this mob for, an hour, they just came in and stole it from me, they will take the item away from that player and give it to you. But he did say that there are going to be certain situations where it will be most damage done or first to engage. So, but who's to say, like, a first to engage kind of situation when two guilds are mustering up a raid together and they both show up around the same time and they both engage about at the same time, then it's going to be most damage done. And then that's going to be whoever has the most DPS, which DPS doesn't win every fight. I'm a big proponent of DPS. I think that DPS is king in games like this because of that reason. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a huge problem. I think it's going to be a really big problem. Good morning, DJ. How you doing, bud? The player base, the flag, the jerks, and put them in a camp. No camp. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, Tab. Like, I think that it's going to be one of those things where a single group that is a single static group is going to be the only group that can really hog things like that and get away with it, because they're not going to need any outside help. You're not going to have solo players or even duos or trios that are being jerks that are going to thrive in a game like this, because it is a very much social game. And once you earn a reputation of the bad person on the server, you're then not going to be invited to raids, you're not going to be invited to groups, and you're going to have a much more difficult time doing anything as you get higher level. So you don't want to be that person. So I'm hoping that that's the case in Monsters and Memories. But when it comes guild versus guild, they're going to be butting heads a lot. And it could be guild versus guild versus guild. There could be 20 different guilds on the server that all have raid-ready characters. And then you just have, 15 different groups that are all trying to kill one mob. And whoever gets the most damage wins out. That's where the issue is going to be. That's where the issue is going to be. I'm calling it now. Like, people can say, nah, that won't happen. I promise you, I can all but guarantee, because I can't guarantee anything in the future, but I can all but guarantee that's going to happen. And it's going to be a problem. It's already an issue with things like the Bone Construct, right? We already saw that on the open test. Bone Construct spawns, you have multiple groups that are trying to kill it. They all butt heads with each other. It's people training each other. People are trying to, all sorts of stuff. All sorts of things. Once a mob spawns, does someone have X amount of time to engage a mob if they are camping it? That's a tough one, Let's Play. I think if you have been in a camp, let's say a single group, right? Or you're soloing and you're killing a named mob and you have killed that placeholder 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and the named pops and you're low on mana, low on health, you need to recuperate some health or mana before pulling that mob, you're going to have a certain amount of time before you need to pull it, I feel like. Because you're still camping that mob. You've been killing the placeholder. You've been waiting for it to spawn. It spawned. It's a tough fight. You're going to need to have the right amount of mana, HP, whatever resources to be able to kill it. And I think if somebody else comes in, takes it out, and you petition that, the GMs will side on your side of that, saying you've been camping the mob. Now, when it comes to raid bosses, I think is where we're going to have the issue. I think it's going to be a completely different situation. They already added dismissing return to PvP fear spells. Yeah, there's diminishing. Yeah, there's diminishing returns on PvP for sure. All classes in WoW lost their identity for balancing. Just the reason I only play Classic now. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like WoW, it very much like Final Fantasy. both of those games now on the live servers, so we're not talking about any type of TLP or classic or whatever, on the live servers, they have done a lot of balancing to make everybody as equal as possible. And I don't like that. I think certain classes should shine. I think every class should have its defining moment in some way, shape, or form. I really do. Have a boss where damage taken wins? That would be most DPS done. Or are you talking about where, like, the tank, so like how much damage the boss put out, whoever takes the most damage wins? Maybe. PvP servers are fine. The issue is rewarding PvP implementation on PvE servers. I mean, I don't like PvP in a game like this because there's very little negative side to it. You can basically kill anybody without worry of having something negative to your character, you know, other than other players not liking you. Guilds 100% will gatekeep their other guilds off the content for the sake of being ahead of the curve. Yeah, they absolutely will. I mean, my guild will. I'm not trying to say that in a mean way, but whatever guild that I am in, and I already know, like, whether I create a guild, whether I join a guild, whatever guild that I'm in, I bet you that they're going to say, hey, this mob is spawning. Do we need the items off of it? No? Well, let's go kill it anyway because we're going to stop other people from getting those items. You don't want, in a game like this, as a top-rated guild, you don't want other guilds getting access to the best gear in the game because then they're going to be able to compete with you on the higher-end content. Let's look at EverQuest with Sleeper's Tomb. Guilds in EverQuest were getting into Sleeper's Tomb. They had plenty of keys. Everyone in their guild was keyed. They could do Sleeper's Tomb all day. They continued to kill the Sleeper's Tomb key mobs because they didn't want other guilds to go in there and kill those. So they would just make sure that they couldn't key, right? Now, will Monsters and Memories fix that? They could potentially fix that. Eminem could say, hey, you know, like, you have to do this full quest line and there's no drops that are involved. You just have to do certain things to key to get into a certain area or whatever, which I'll make it to where other guilds can't stop you from doing it. But I guarantee you guilds will. I mean, that's the competitive nature of it. Just wait until BC launch is contested. Yeah, Bone Construct is going to be... I don't like any of the level gated monsters, right? The Bone Construct, the whatever name, the Seer, the Sightseer, the one in Ancient Crypt, and then the level 41 in Telekir. All three of those mobs, what's going to happen, and is already happening on the closed alpha and the open alphas, is people are logging in, killing those, logging out. They just have characters built specifically to kill those mobs. And they just basically raid log, they raid log them. It pops, they log in, they kill it, they give the item to whomever they want, and then they log out. And that they just sit there. That's all they do. It's going to be an issue. I don't care what people say. It's going to be an issue. It already is an issue. I believe you have up to 30 minutes after AFK away. Did they say that? I haven't fully read like every single line of the Play Nice policy, so I don't know what it is. Who held aggro best is an interesting metric. They could do that, yeah. I mean, if the game is designated to allow... The issue with that, though, Haas, is who held aggro best. The issue with that is taunt puts you at the top of the aggro list. So if some tank has been holding the aggro, I guess you could do it as a timer. Whoever has it on them the longest, you could do it that way. But there's a lot of ways to cheese that, though, right? I would just sit there and just do DPS, and as soon as another tank got aggro, I would taunt. And then wait, and as soon as another tank got aggro, I would taunt just to pull it off of them. So there's ways to kind of get around that. I mean, if the game is designed to allow gating content, you're going to invite a certain type of player. Every single game is It's not designed around that. It just has that in it. I feel like developers are not those kind of developers. I gotta believe they have a plan. I hope they have a plan, but they have not. They have not told us the plan. Where do I sign up for your guild? I'm gonna try to stay away ahead of the curve. I mean, I don't know if we're gonna make a guild yet, Dolce and Katana. I don't know if we're gonna do that, or if we're gonna join a guild. I'm in a guild on the alpha right now. We might stay with them. I don't know. It all depends. A lot of it's going to depend on who goes to what servers. If they're going to be on a no-box server, they're going to be on a box server. I'm not going to a PvP server, so if any guild that's on PvP server, I will not be playing there. So there's just a lot of factors. Nor camping entitles you to anything. That's an exploratory reason. Which one? So if you're camping something, you are entitled to that mob if you're camping it. There is no like, oh, you've been camping this for 2 hours, killing the placeholder, and the name spawns and somebody else comes in and kills it. Yeah, you might kill it. You might get the item temporarily until that petition goes through, and then you're going to lose the item. One benefit is I think racing guilds will keep pushing and not roll up second characters just to farm BC. They won't want to waste that. Oh, a second character, getting a second character to level 20 once you have a level 60 character is an afternoon thing. You could do it in an afternoon, like a couple hours. It does not take long. So yeah, DJ, like there's going to be guilds that are going to get to level 60, and then they're just going to make level 20 characters. They're going to make a level 25 character. They're going to make a level 40 character. Power leveling in this game is no joke. Absolutely no joke. You can power level characters so fast. It's ridiculous. Using a single-use key spawn mechanism is a good way to help. Yeah. Using single-use keys, yeah. I mean, there's places in the game that require keys. Like, the cemetery, right? What if they put a raid boss inside the cemetery? And you have to have a key. Like, it only spawns during the day. And you have to have a key. No, it only spawns at night, and you have to have a key to get into the cemetery in Night Harbor. If you don't have a key, you can't get in. But you only need one. Open the door, let everybody in, so it needs to be like where you have to get a key to be able to get into the location. Like, you get a key to click on the door and it zones you. It doesn't open a door, it literally zones you in. I feel like Monster Binary staff may be asked to do ridiculous amounts of hand-holding to resolve player disputes. I think so too. We can't ask them to fix every single negative human interaction. I agree with that. It's going to be a problem. I 100% agree with that. Let's play. People petitioning to get all these things fixed is going to be a problem. They're very good. GM Trent is super cool, upstanding guy. I haven't had any issues with him or heard of any issues with him so far. They have a new GM, I believe, as well, that just started recently, I think as of the last open play test. They're doing a great job, but are they going to be able to keep up with that? That's going to be the issue. When you have 10,000 people online at one time, and these petitions are going in, and they're all I'm gonna say this is going to be more of an issue around 6 months into the game, after early access, because you're going to have a lot of players that are now level 60 that are just looking for things to do. And those things that they're looking to do are going to be in-game content. They're going to look to farm all of the best items in the game. And it doesn't matter if they're level 1 or if they're level 60, the things that they have to kill. People are already at high levels going back to Wormsbane to try to kill the NPCs in Wormsbane, basically saying, no, I'm a higher level player. I can take this whole room by myself. And they're kind of hogging all of the named spawns there and not letting the lower level players do any of that just because they want to get that Wormsbane armor. The Wormsbane armor, stat-wise, sucks, right? It's not going to be that great for a high-level player. It'll probably get you to like the 20s, 30 maybe, or whatever, somewhere around there. But anything after that, you're going to be able to find better gear. But they like the way it looks. It's kind of like Rubicite armor from EverQuest. If you like the way that it looks, they're going to go camp it. And then what are you going to do about that? You don't have to give up your camp to a low-level player. Like, I have the right to go and camp that as a high-level player, the same right that you do as a low-level player. So it's going to be tough. Timer is rough grace period, but GM ruling still final if it comes to that. Yeah, GM ruling is always going to be final. Absolutely. It's policeable at a certain scale, but who knows what the scale is? Yeah, we don't know what the scale is. That's true. That's very, very true. Like right now, I think this game's going to have 20 to 30,000 active subscriptions day one of early access. However, that's 6 months away. As we get closer to early access, that number could exponentially shoot up. I think that the player base and the eyes on this game nearly doubled over the winter holiday. Like the around December 15th through January 1st, I feel like the eyes on this game nearly doubled. There's a lot of players started talking about this. Takes longer to farm the Twink Gear than to get to level 20. Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. Do you plan to try Pantheon again after Spring Wipe? I might. I might play Pantheon again. We'll see. It all depends on when that Spring Wipe happens and what I'm doing in Monsters and Memories. Because Monsters and Memories has a spring beta, right? March 1st is beta. Spring is... When is spring this year? Like, what date is it? I don't even know. But it's around March. March or April. So it depends on what I'm doing in Monsters and Memories. And I might go back and try out some Pantheon to see. That said, I don't think that Pantheon is going to be able to live up to all of the things that it says it's going to happen. Or that it says they want to do. March 21st is spring. So yeah, we'll have to see if I'm busy at that point or not. Mobile subs are now $7.99. Figured I'd support you, making my workday more palatable. Yeah, I have to wait. Yeah, mobile subs are not the way to go. Don't ever buy a sub on your mobile device for anything on Twitch, because you're not giving money to Twitch or the content creator. You're also giving money to Google or Apple, depending on what kind of phone you have. So I would highly recommend not buying mobile subs. In fact, I would recommend only using subs that are like your Amazon Prime subs, if you can, right? Of course, you can only do one of those a month, but Amazon Prime subs are the way to go. It's crazy to me, all the stuff in Wormsbane is weak, aside from BC drops. It is, Haas, but it looks cool, right? Same thing for Rubicite armor back in EverQuest. Anybody that played EverQuest in the early days and knows about Rubicite armor, it was just red-colored, very bright red-colored armor, and it stood out amongst all of the other armor types in the game. The stats, other than the breastplate, were not great. The breastplate had, like, health regen on it, like 3 health regen, so it was a very good item early on, but later on became obsolete when they added in the Fungi Tunic. Fungi Tunic was far superior because it had like 15 health regen or something. Way more health regen on it. And nobody really wanted the Rubicite anymore. But the people that wanted Rubicite and they went and camped it specifically for the look. They didn't camp it for any other reason. The right fix for BC is to make it all no drop or make it weaker. That won't fix anything. If it's no drop, then what we'll do is I'll load up my level 20 character. I will kill the mob, I will bring over my level 60 character, and I will loot the mob. Right? That's what's going to happen. Just because it's no drop doesn't fix anything. It just makes it to where you can't trade the item later. Wormsbane is a great intro to the game and its gear. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, Wormsbane is a great intro. Kind of teaching you how dungeons are going to work and trains. I personally will not be going to Wormsbane on my early access character. I'm going to avoid it like the plague. The reason for that is in early access, because you can go into Wormsbane as early as like level between 3 and 5, it's going to be train central. If you can get to like level 10 before anybody else and go deep into Wormsbane and go way, way down where other groups can't get to, then yeah, that could be fine. But you need to go way down into Wormsbane. And then at that point, it's like, well, should I really even fight all the way to the bottom of Wormsbane? Because then what happens if somebody has to leave or you die down there? How are you going to get your corpse back? There's just too many negatives to it. So I don't plan to go into Wormsbane. I'm not going to even set foot into it early access. It's not going to be good XP. Yeah, it's going to be terrible XP in there. I think people are going to be asking you to train them because it's going to be picked clean of mobs. Yeah, I agree with that. I think Wormsbane is just, it's not the amount of people that are going to go in there, and then the amount of mobs that are inside of that dungeon. They're not going to work, right? You're going to get like, hey, we have this camp of 5 mobs for our entire group of 6 players. That's terrible XP. Group of 6 players needs to have a camp of, I'm going to say 15 to 20 mobs. Depending on your level, depending on your DPS capabilities, depending on a lot of factors. But a full group of 6 needs around 15 mobs or more to maintain a good XP rate. Otherwise, you might as well just solo or duo or trio. Yeah, you're going to be fighting for camps, absolutely. And that's just not, it's not going to be worth it. People are going to want to go in there and do Wormsbane, and it's not going to be worth it. I have a lot of different places I'm planning to go when early access starts. I have like at least 3 or 4 different places I can go to camp mobs until I get to a certain level. And then I'm hoping, fingers crossed, everything works out the way I want it to. We'll level up quickly enough and we'll be kind of ahead of that curve. And then we can kind of pick and choose some of the higher level areas we want to camp. That's the goal. But, you know, maybe there's going to be some groups out there that are just able to XP faster. Who knows? But that's the way that I play, right? I'm not encouraging anybody else to play that way. Take the game slowly if you want to. Learn things, explore, do that kind of fun stuff. That's another way to play that is super fun in this game. I love the exploration of this. Absolutely love it. But I also like to get to the in-game content and do some of the hardest content in the game. That's what I like to do, is doing the raid content or the single group content that's very challenging. You know, you have to have a certain amount of armor class, otherwise this mob is just going to truck you. So that's, yeah. Do you think there's enough low-level content for early access launch with thousands of people logging to a server? Trying to XP might not be enough camps. So with that said, yes, I think that there is enough because they're trying to put a cap on that. Nick has said a couple of times their concurrent players online at the start of early access, they're looking at about 1,000 players. So if you have 1,000 players all logging in at once, and there's 2 starting locations, well, technically 3 starting locations, but there's 2, one in Night Harbor and one in Phalandraw. But in Night Harbor, you have the North Gate and the West Gate. I think as long as they put, if they make those areas respawn a little bit faster, right? Like right now, most of the game is an 8 to 10 minute respawn, depending on where you are in the game. If they make those like 2 or 3 minute respawns, at least for the early access start, I think it'll be fine. I think there's going to be plenty of mobs. Plus, you can zone over in those areas. Well, Phalandraw is a large area that you can XP in. But in Night Harbor, Northgate, and Westgate, you can also go to the Necromancer Shadow Knight starting area, where there's a lot of low-level mobs right there. There's another secret area behind that area that has some low-level mobs that not a lot of people know about. You can also zone into Shaded Dunes or Sungreet Strands, and there's mobs that are there that are like level 2 and 3. So if you have a group and you're killing level 2 mobs at level 1, that'll also be good. I think there's going to be enough, especially since they added in those gnolls, or not gnolls, the Ashira that they added in as well is going to help with that. So you're going to have those Ashira camps right there in Sungreet Strands, right as soon as you zone into the right-hand side. There is enough. It's going to be crowded. It's going to be super crowded, and it's going to be a pain in the butt. However, there's going to be enough, and as people play, they're going to be able to spread out. It also depends on what time they start the servers. if they start the servers at prime time on like a Friday night or Saturday, evening or whatever, that would be a terrible time to start the servers. But if they start the server at like 2 o'clock Eastern on a Tuesday, what day is hang on, let's look. What day is June 1st? It's going to be on a Monday. So if they actually launch it on Monday at 2 o'clock, it's going to help them a lot. That said, a lot of people are taking off of work. I already know tons of people that are like, nope, I'm taking off work. They're going to be taking that whole week off. So we'll have to see. The game needs stat gear to drop outside of dungeons at the early game, like the Ashira camp, Shaded, or Sungreet, having a random name that drops something. I agree. Yeah, I think there needs to be more itemization. There's not enough itemization in the game right now. I 100% agree with that. Absolutely 100% agree. Do you really need stat gear in early game? You don't need it, no, but I think they need to put it into the game to have things for people to go after, right? If you dangle a carrot in front of somebody, they're going to go for it. So that would just spread the player base out more. Phalandraw is definitely the place to start if you want to roll something that can start there. It's a great place to start because it's just so much bigger. There's so much more you can do over there. Well, there's so many paths to take from the start. You can go right to Telekir at 5 or 6. Never look back. Grain Cellar, many people never see. Grain Cellar is a good one, but you got to be like level 30, right, to get in there. You don't bot. Wait, what? I think that will matter. A fresh wipe will have so many people taking time off their job. Yeah, they will. A lot of people will be taking off. I'm taking the 3rd off. Let the tryhards move ahead. See, there you go, Magicot. Exactly. Some people aren't going to want to be ahead of the curve, right? Some people are like, no, I'm just going to wait a couple of days. I'm going to let that die down, and then I'm going to log in, and I'm going to leisurely just stay right behind the curve. There's 2 ways you can do an MMO at launch. You can be ahead of the curve, or you could be right behind the curve. Both of those are actually very, very smart. The people that are right stuck in the middle, those are the ones that are going to be struggling because they're always going to be competing with each other all the way up to max level. But if you're right behind the curve, let's say that you start 3 or 4 or 5 days later, and you're just behind everybody, you can then group with those higher level players and get tons of XP because the catch-up mechanics in the game. It's a very smart way to go. So you're spending less time in the game, but leveling just as fast. The people that are in the front have to spend way more time, and they're going to be leveling the slowest, technically, but they're going to be putting more time into the game, so they're going to be leveling. They're going to be ahead of everybody else. So like if you log in day 1 and you put in a 24-hour stream or 24-hour whatever play test or play whatever you want to call it, and you get ahead of that curve, well, your gear is going to probably suck. So you're going to be having to fight slightly lower level enemies to be able to get good XP gains, whereas those people that are playing the game a little bit slower are going to have better gear. They're going to be able to kill things that are higher level and therefore level faster, but they're going to play less. So it depends on how much time you want to put in. Plus, early game itemization will help the economy, and the economy needs help as is. It needs a lot of help, yeah, I agree. I always end up in the curve, yeah. Are they allowing streamers to stream the closed beta? Not at the beginning, no, but maybe after that. So right now, the closed beta is going to start March 1st. I would expect all of March to be the closed beta. Nobody can stream, same stuff. By April, maybe. By May, I would say probably. I think from May to June 1st, they will probably open it up to where the beta people can kind of talk about the game as much as they want, just to get more of that information out there. But we'll have to see. That's all just my theory. There's nothing set in stone with that at all. But yeah. Hey, Eminem fans. Starting a pre-guild for Eminem Early Access. Here you go. Some of you may want to join up on this person's guild. I'm sure you answered this already. Are they wiping from beta to EA? Yes. Yes. Early Access June 1st, or whenever Early Access starts, everyone is going to be on brand new characters. The only thing that Early Access people will have is knowledge, but knowledge is huge in this game. Huge. The more you know, the faster you're going to be able to do everything. That's why I recommend people get in, play the open test, as much as you can, learn things. Don't necessarily try to level as fast as you can, but learn things. There's things that I didn't even know about when I was leveling from like level 1 to 30. I didn't even know it was there. Like the grain cellar, I didn't find out about the grain cellar until after I was too high of level to go into the grain cellar. So find these things now is going to help you with your leveling process. There are quests that you can do that are in the lower levels that are great weapons. Like there's at least, I'll give you an example again of the same one that I've been giving, which is the bone dragon thing that you can spawn. So around the mid to late 20s, you can collect the items. Around level high 30s, you can go and kill the bone dragon. That thing drops a really good staff for casters. One of the best staffs in the game for casters. For like, especially in that level, it'll carry you all the way up to level 60. So knowing where these things are is going to be very beneficial to you. So I recommend learning that stuff now. I expect streaming after May 1st when the build is locked. Yeah, that's kind of my guess. Hopefully those with knowledge can get the wiki updated. Yeah, right now, Fizwick, we can't, right? I have a lot of knowledge of the game. We're not allowed to talk about that knowledge. Unless we did it on the open test. We can talk about it all day, but anything that we've not done on the open test, and there's also people that have done things in the open test that they're still not sharing with the greater community. They're kind of gatekeeping that. I will share with you all as much information as I'm allowed to, because I want everyone to be on the same playing field. Now that said, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to hate on me for that. They're going to hate on anybody that's sharing that information. Things like quest walkthrough videos, or even a quest walkthrough on the wiki. People are going to hate that because they're like, oh, you're writing it up and telling everybody how to do everything, and they're not figuring it out. That's fine. Like, how I look at it is not everyone is going to have the time to dedicate to figuring out every single little thing. And how do we figure this stuff out anyway? Word of mouth. I didn't know about the grain cellar. I didn't find that on my own. I just didn't. I was told about the grain cellar, and somebody else showed me the entrance to it. But it wasn't, that was by me communicating with other players in the game, right? It wasn't me going out on a wiki or going and looking it up on a YouTube video. It was me literally, hey, you're in a grain cellar? How'd you get in the grain cellar? And they're like, oh, it's over here. It's in this area, blah, 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 blah. And that's how I figured stuff out, by talking to other players. It's the same thing as watching a wiki, or looking at a wiki or whatever. In my opinion, it's the same thing. Will you be streaming your launch rush? Yes, I will probably do a 24-hour stream whenever early access starts, the start of early access. I will most likely do a 24-hour stream. I think, I don't know for sure. I got to figure out dates and times and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to try to do a 24-hour charity stream for the start of early access. So would love to have anyone here to be part of that. And it's going to be to give back to kids at children's hospitals. I don't know if I'm going to do it through St. Jude, or if we're going to do it through like Extra Life, or if I'm just going to do it kind of on my own and give it to children's hospitals. I haven't decided all that yet, but most likely that's what I'm going to do, because I'm a big like supporter of children's hospitals. I want to get them more games and things for the kids to have fun while they're in a hospital, because it kind of sucks. If you've ever been in a children's hospital, it's kind of sad and depressing. So that's probably what I'm going to do. But yes, the answer to your question is I will be absolutely streaming, assuming real life allows it. You know, if an emergency comes up in real life, obviously I won't be here for a start of early access. But assuming that real life allows it, I will be here streaming and playing the early access rush. I have a pretty decent 1 to 20 path. I only got to 25 though, and left off Night Harbor. Yeah, you can get all the way up to level 60 in Night Harbor if you want to. There's going to be those Night Harbor people that are like, I'm going to stay in Night Harbor all the way to 60 because I can. And you absolutely can. There's places to go. Game changes too frequently right now to make the wiki. Yeah, that's another thing. Thinking beta lock. Yeah, once they allow us to have the information, to spread that information, I will do my best to get information out to everybody that wants the information. For those that are like, don't make YouTube videos, don't put it on wiki, don't tell other people. I look at those people like, oh, you're just gatekeeping. You know, some of them are like, no, make people have to figure it out on their own, etc. I don't know. There's both sides of it. So people will hoard knowledge until they level past it anyway. They will, yeah. There's already going to be I know people that are currently hoarding knowledge on like the alpha server, like the closed alpha server. They don't want to tell people about it. So, is the Bone Dragon a Fallen Pass? Yes. Yeah, so do you know where the beetle are? The beetles are in Fallen Pass. When you first go into Fallen Pass from Shaded Dunes, there's skeletons and beetles. All the way in the back of that, there is a cave that I XP'd in at the last open playtest back in November that I played in. There's a cave back there that has undead rats and skeletons in it. That's where you get the items to do the Bone Dragon. And then once you get the items, you go outside of that cave and around the corner to spawn the Bone Dragon. I'm in alpha, not spoiling anything for anyone. Within a year, the wiki will be fleshed out. Yeah, all the information will be out there eventually. I still don't know where the Sungreet grain cellar is. I mean, I showed it in my last playtest. I went to the grain cellar, and I streamed it. Where's the grain cellar? Is it accessible? I mean, I could tell you guys where it is if you really want me to tell you. Some of you guys might want some earmuffs. So, spoiler alert. I try not to spoil stuff. Hey, thank you so much, Horace Grant, for the sub. I appreciate it, bud. So, spoiler. If you don't want to know where the grain cellar is, I'm gonna tell you guys real quickly. It's in Sungreet Strands, and you know the different like hubs or whatever. There's like the buildings, that little farms outside of it. There was one with henchmen in it. Inside that, there is a wall that you can click on, and the wall opens up, and you can walk down in there to the grain cellar. That's how you get into it. So just click on walls in Sungreet Strand inside of those buildings. You have a video for the Inquisitor quest ready for early access launch? Nice. Yeah, do it. Absolutely. I mean, I thought about that, right? I thought about going through, because at some point they're going to lift the ban or whatever, and we're going to be able to put in tons of stuff. I could start making videos now. They are allowing us to do that. I can record my alpha footage, and I can make videos now, and then as soon as early access launch, I could put out 50 different videos. And I don't know. I may or may not do that. We'll see. Did they change the spawn mechanic for it? In the last test, I got a burned container book and I placed the November method. So now I think it's 5 items to collect instead of 2. Couldn't find any more pages. You've seen the dragon. Oh, for the Bone Dragon, it's 4 items that you have to get. Yeah, and they drop off of the 3 of them drop off of the cleric and wizard skeletons inside of that cave, inside of that rat cave, and then one of them you have to kill, or actually, well, 2 more of them. I think you have to kill the parade, the undead parade that happens in Night Harbor, or not Night Harbor, in Fallen Pass. If you've seen the undead parade that spawns and it walks through the cave, you got to kill those. The bone dragon that I'm talking about is group mob, a single group mob. Around level high 30s, early 40s. Should be able to do it easily with a group. Not to mention I had to get to 25 to solo the guy. Which guy? Didn't get to farm the cave. Gotcha. Another group had that camp. Yeah. Only one group can do that cave. So you have to get there early. I know where it is because I watched Kratos look for it for hours and felt like I put in time. Which one? I'll be around 2 to 3 my time. Okay. Meet a college buddy in the morning. Yeah, sounds good, Easter. I've got to go. I've got a meeting at 2 o'clock until 3 o'clock, and then I'll be home after that. Looking for the hidden dungeon. There's a couple of hidden dungeons. Oh, the last guy for the Inquisitor quest? Yeah, I don't know where that is. I pointed you to him? Oh, maybe I didn't even know that was him then. But yeah, like I don't know what I'm going to do. I might have a bunch of like walkthrough videos. The thing is, I'm not making a lot of those videos now because what's the point? A lot of stuff is going to change between now and early access. So making a bunch of videos now and then releasing them for early access is going to be like, okay, well, that's not the same. There's a quest that I've done for a really good sword that has already changed a couple of times. He's named in the bins behind the market stall. Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, when you go into the bins, you turn right, and he's to the left. Yeah. I always saw him there, and I'm like, what the heck is this guy doing here? Another thing that people are going to have to really consider, and not enough people are considering, is faction. I'm not going to go into detail, but I highly recommend you all be careful what you kill. Faction means something in this game. If you're getting a faction negative when you kill something, make sure it's not something you don't want a negative for, right? Like you may not want the negative hits. You're not putting any thought into the faction and religion. Religion, I don't think is going to be as big of a deal because you're going to be able to change that. Sean was talking about that not too long ago in one of his streams, where you're going to be able to change the religion or increase your religion, and it's not going to like stop you, but it will be used as a gate for certain things. Like you may have to have a certain religion to be able to do a certain quest to do something. Faction is kind of the same way. I've helped people farm faction to be able to go to the bank again. Yeah. The bins gives a sweet neck piece. I think you mentioned you had it. Yeah, I've got a walkthrough video for the bins. That one hasn't changed. And it gives you See and Viz. So anybody that doesn't have See and Viz as a spell from their class might want to get that item. It's a really good item. There's 2 items that I recommend getting right now in the game, and I've done a walkthrough on both of those from an open alpha. One is the See and Viz necklace from the bins. The other one is Sense Magic, which starts in Sungreet Strands and then goes back and forth. Anyway, it's both of them are fairly easy, low level. You can do them both between level 15 and 20. Somewhere in that range, you should be able to start them and finish them. You should be able to finish both of them by level 20. And I highly recommend both of those. They're both very, very big. A lot of people still don't realize to see buffs or debuffs or anything like that on another enemy or another player, you need to have Sense Magic. So this gives you Sense Magic. For any class, it gives you the buff Sense Magic. Very, very good. I have not played Apogea or whatever it's called. Apogee, whatever. Test soon as well. I haven't played it. I'm going to look into it, though, for sure. I want to do the Platinum Badge, but I'm thinking factioning with the Pirates. I got a quest from the Dwarf Lady in the lower bar to faction with them. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Platinum Badge to Living City and the Measure Stick are must-haves for me. Yeah, I think everybody should get those. Does the Sense Magic one have anything to do with the Haveling camp out there, Cooking Pot and the Skeleton? No, Dolce and Katana. That's a completely different quest that I haven't figured out yet. Is the Measuring Stick a must-equip? No. The Measuring Stick is click from inventory. So it's good for every single person. Highly, highly, highly recommend getting the Measuring Stick. Highly recommend it. Especially if you're a puller. Like our puller, I have a monk in my group. That's Easter. That was just in here a second ago. We make sure that he has it up all the time because he checks the buffs on mobs before he pulls them. If it's got damage shield, hey guys, this thing's got a damage shield. If it's got haste, hey, this thing has haste. It's coming in. Incoming with haste and damage shield. It's huge. My buddy got Measuring Stick and then Gate kept me on it. My own buddy of 8 years. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Why? Why do people gatekeep so hard? I don't get it. I mean, all this information is eventually going to come out. It is dangerous to get. It is. Yeah, if you're level, you can get it at level 15, but the goblins that you have to kill for it are like level 18 or 20 or something, so it can be kind of tough. Between those two quests and Inquisitor quest reward, I have permanent See Invis and inventory click with Sense Magic, lesser spell shield. It's great. Yeah, it's awesome. Love it. Yeah, I carry around my my pendant, my See Invis pendant, just for when I'm exploring new areas. Like I don't need to have to worry about somebody casting See Invis on me. I just throw on the necklace and I'm good, and I can see all sorts of stuff. You like nice things? If you can gate, you can invis, do the click, drop, and gate before they touch you. Well, yeah. There's ways that you can do it. That's why I say at level 15, you can do it. But yeah, there's absolutely, and I explained that in my video, my walkthrough video on how to do that quest. Also, an Enduring Breath earring. You don't have to farm a 12-hour spawn for it. There is a Enduring Breath earring that's got 5 charges on it down at the Pirate. So the Pirate earring, it's a really good wisdom earring, but it's all. So you can get Enduring Breath at a pretty low level. Hey, what's up, Young? How you doing, bud? Get See Invis before going to the Vale. You can't recreate that era. There's no point in gatekeeping at this point. Yeah. That's how I look at it, Q. But there's a lot of people that don't... They want you to figure it out on your own. And I feel like it's a mixed bag. Some of those people are saying, we want you to figure it out on your own because they legitimately think that the game is more fun when you are figuring it out your own quest and you are figuring out how to get through stuff. But the thing is, most of those people aren't realizing... They probably talked to people, and the only reason that they were able to figure it out is because they talked to somebody that told them how to do it. Now, where did that person get the information? Did they figure it out on their own, or did they watch a video, or did they talk to somebody else who told them and told, who knows where the information's coming from? That's the thing. Unless you literally figure it out on your own, if that's what you think is fun, then go do it. You don't have to watch a guide. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Nobody's forcing you to. But yeah, I personally think that, if you find out information, share it with people. Why not? To some extent. Now, if we're talking about level 60 in-game raid boss kind of stuff, I might keep that to my guild for a little while, right? And you're not going to want to share that with the masses because you want to make sure that your guild gets that kind of stuff done first, then go back and share it. But that's just how I am with it. It only has 5 charges. Yeah, the earring from the Pirates that gives you Endure Breath only has 5 charges on it. But there's supposed to be... What's going on, Malik? How you doing, bud? There's supposed to be a spell from enchanters. I don't know if it works. Does anybody know if it works? But enchanters have a spell where you can recharge charged items. I haven't been able to figure out how to make it work. Hold the item in your hand, cast a spell, like nothing seems to work. So, measure stick and see invis is must-have player if you're puller. Yeah, a lot of invis mobs, and you can warn your group. Yep, exactly. Yeah, Easter's my puller, and him having those items is huge. He goes out there and he's like, this thing is, it's invis. Well, not to mention, it's not just invis. Like, you might think, oh, there's only one mob in the middle of that room. I'm going to pull it to camp. You don't realize that there's 4 invis mobs standing around it. And then you pull that one mob in the middle, it pulls all of the other mobs, but they stay invis until they actually attack you. They can actually sneak up onto your group. It's crazy. I thought wizards were the one with recharge. Maybe wizards can do it. I don't remember. But it doesn't work either way. The information will be available if you choose to be that person. That is how you'll be known. And this is coming from a purist, so I understand the mentality. I don't even like the fact that maps are available already outside the game. Yeah, exactly. You know, the thing is, though, maps are going to be available outside of the game. There's tons of them out there. They're everywhere. Any chance of getting a night vision spells? Nope, there's no chance of that. Yeah, Nick doesn't want this, by the way. He doesn't want you to be able to cast the spell of infravision or ultravision. They could do it if they wanted to, but my understanding is they're not going to. All the invis farmhands, yeah, there's tons of invis mobs in the game. Tons of them. Early and general economy observations. Uh-oh, wait, is this... Oh, no, okay. Let's see what this person says. Infinite money loop discovered. Arrow fletching and survival economy. Yeah, this was found during the last playtest. A friend and I deep dive into the early game economy and discovered a crafting loop that acts as an unbound money faucet. Currently, the raw material cost versus the finished good. Yeah, this right here, like, you could buy stuff and then craft stuff and then resell it, and you could do that indefinitely. And the economy in this game is going to be broken unless they make some changes. This exploit trivializes the intended survival economy, torches, campfires, etc. Yeah, put 1 wood log harvesting or bought for 1 copper. Output 100 standard arrows, and then you can sell those for 1 copper per arrow. So 1 log equals 100 or 1 silver. So yeah, it's a 99 copper increase. Arrows gave me 2 gold, a new character in about an hour. Yeah. And you could go cut down trees, like you can get logs easily, right? You just log. This is, I feel like a lot of this, though, is because it's because of the changes to fletching. Before, it was only 10 arrows per 1 wood. And now that it's 100, they didn't change the price. But the price is, that's the problem, is they can't go any lower than 1 copper. So if it's 1 copper per arrow, like, it's gonna be an issue. Harvest 3 logs, craft 300 arrows, less than 1 minute, sell arrows to vendor, buy vendor torch. Yeah. There's a lot of these. Keep letting them know about these things, because they need to know. I don't seem to be able to find the class forums. They're right here. Scroll down. Least and most played class. Is this from the last playtest? Look at that, 10%. 10%. Inquisitor, Spellblade. What's crazy to me about this? Spellblade, best DPS in the game, and can also tank very, very, very well. And it is one of the least played classes. This This is ridiculous. I totally did not take lumbering on each of my characters. I made on test, yeah. I mean... What's this? Nick, Loving Robot, I have a question regarding long-term world interaction environment design. One of the ambitions that really stood out in MMO like EverQuest Next, the idea of truly interactive environment where players could meaningfully affect the world itself, such as deforming terrain, digging. This is, to me, is what ruined EverQuest Next. Showing parts of the environment rather than the world purely static. Something the team has discussed. That's not going to happen in this game, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. Spellblade is my main. I love the idea of the class. Oh, I love the idea too, Christopher. I think the idea of the Spellblade is one of the best in the game currently. The problem with the Spellblade is that it's super powerful. Like, I think it might be too strong. I had to pay for that sweet iron gear at the vendors somehow. Yeah. Probably because Spellblade isn't a legacy class. I'm actually considering it, even though I really want to play Druid, since that's always a less popular class. Yeah, Spellblade is... It's God mode, guys. It is God mode. It needs more nerfs. And people that play Spellblade, though, will not tell you that. They're going to be like, nope, it needs more stuff. I will agree that the Spellblade could use some more abilities, right? There's a difference, though, between a class needing more things to do and being overpowered, right? Just because it doesn't have a lot of things to do doesn't make it overpowered. People right now are saying that the fighter class is overpowered. I wouldn't say it's overpowered, but I also play a fighter, so people are going to be like, see, you're doing the same thing. But I think it does do too much DPS for being a tank. Like, I don't want it to do that DPS. I don't want it to have triple attack. I don't want it to have crits. I don't want the fighter to be a crazy good DPS class. I want it to have more defensive utility. But right now, it's just really good. They nerf Spellblade, and it's still not enough. It was too ambitious. They couldn't do everything they said. Well, yeah, Hyper Taco. I think that a lot of the game is. Spellblade is so hard getting off the ground, though. Yeah, but just because it's hard to get off the ground doesn't mean that it should be the best DPS and the best tank at level 60. Like, it's not the best tank at level 60, but it's close. It's really good. Having no stats does not make it seem great in the beginning. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree. Is Dex confirmed proc rate? Yes. Yeah. Dex increases your proc rate. It increases your hit chance and your proc rate. Dex might also increase ranged damage. But it either currently doesn't, but it will in the future, or it does, and they're not telling us that it does. But I think Dex also kind of helps with range damage. Split between Dex and Int on a Spellblade? I'd go all Dex. As a monk, make sure to get Dex as much as possible. You play Polar and Interrupter? Yeah. Dex is going to be pretty big. Yeah, I would say Dex with Strength as a Spellblade. It's going to increase your damage. You're going to hit more often. And then all your melee damage, your physical melee damage is Strength-based. And then your proc chances are your proc chances. Your Int isn't going to change that. The only thing Int is going to do for a Spellblade is give them more mana and increase their direct damage spells. But they're not casting that many direct damage spells. I would say the only time they cast a direct damage spell is when they get their 5 stacks so they can cast it for free, instant cast for free. But that DPS is very low compared to their proc and melee attacks. So Dex plus Strength is huge for a Spellblade. Spend more time looking for a camp than actually playing the game. Uh-oh. Also, the mindset that proc would base off of damage event, it doesn't, no. Not that I'm aware of. I love the game when I actually play it. My experience doing at 3 to 6 has been so frustrating. I've been wondering a few times whether I should keep playing the game or not. I'm all about the resource scarcity, but it's been a few people play the game and the rest don't. Please do consider looking into it, adding more camps. Oh, this is way back in September. I mean, dude, September of last year, they've added so much more stuff since then. Which server will have the higher population? What is this? Oh, these are from way back when. Okay, so we're getting to the point now, and these are no point. Bug reports, what do we have here? Unable to zone out of Telekir. Uh-oh. While fleeing for my life at Telekir, I hit an invisible wall and zone line, was able to zone out. Yikes. Yeah, I've had that issue in Grain Cellar. Sometimes you'll hit a zone wall. If this ever happens to you and you go through the zone wall, you need to turn around and run backwards and try to run back and forth. If you know where the zone is, just keep running around in that area. I have a mindset on Inquisitor main, Alt Spellblade, and Drow Ranger for Candy Tune if allowed. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a thing or not, but you're not going to know that until Module 1. That's when they're going to be adding in the Dark Elf or Deep Elves. Moonflame on target with Burning Embers. Casting Moonflame on target, the Burning Embers gives the message target name already has more powerful effect on them. Yeah. Has a hidden value, 0 debuff or hidden. So what is Moonflame, the lower level version? Yeah, it's the level 1 version versus the level whatever. You know, it probably does the same amount. Yeah, those should stack, though. But that was back on October. I would make a pally, but wait for high elves before I do. You can just ride your coattails in the build for it. Yeah. Sure, we have pally fleshed out before high elves are in. They should, yeah. Minus the ranger, that's my plan, too. I'm making a shaman and enchanter as well. One class of each role or armor type. There you go. Yeah. Sounds good. I'm going to go fighter, and then we'll see. We will see after that. Like, I don't know what alts I'll make. Maybe a cleric alt, maybe wizard or druid alt for porting around. I don't know. Burning Embers damage does not increase from stacking. Uh-oh. That should increase. Cleric is too AFK for me. I made a healer. I would take Shaman. Shaman is probably the best duo healer in the game, I feel like. Really, really good for duos. But everybody's going to love you if you're a cleric because of the res. I recommend befriending a cleric. Holy moly, it's got a bad memory leak, by the way. Played for 2 hours, games consuming nearly 15 gigabytes of RAM. Yeah, it's because of a memory leak. Close your client. Whenever you launch the game, you can come back to this right here, this window, and close it. That helps a ton. Rogue Quest, killing the emissary. Uh-oh. Do you think clerics being the only class that can res is good game design? Well, paladins can also res, but clerics is just going to be a better res. But I can't say that it's good nor bad. I don't know. Necro can res? Yeah, for 60 seconds. And then you die again. Now, the Necro res is broken right now. They're going to have to fix that. It's just it's just broken in several different ways. I suspect the Necro Res will not be the same as it is right now come early access. I know for a fact it will not be the same as it is right now. I will make sure that it is not the same because it is currently broken. We'll also be seeing mount res from different classes. That's going to be kind of a big thing. Yeah, the Druid and probably Ranger are both going to have a mount res. That's actually, I think they're already in the game. They're just 9,999 mana to cast. And that's going to be kind of a big deal, I think. Sungreet Telekir zone line puts you inside Ishira side entrance. Yes, that is true. You know, there is something funny about this. Some of these people are putting bug reports in on the regular stuff here that are in the alpha, because the alpha has its own area for bug reports up here. So you guys can get a lot of information that you're probably not supposed to have by reading some of this stuff. Some of these things are also just bugs that are going to be fixed down the road. But yeah, this is currently happening where the Sungreet Telekir zone line, they're wrong or whatever. It's putting you on the wrong side. Happened to you yesterday in Telekir? Yeah, I think it happened to everybody right now. Esar, I think they just have the zones mixed up. What do you think about 90% Necro Res? Hang on. What happened to my music? 90+% Necro Res with Essence Emeralds. Necros don't need more. That's what I think about. If you say, should Necros have, and you insert anything there, I'm going to say no, because Necros right now have too much. I think things need to be taken away from the Necro. I don't think that Necros should have regular Invis and IVU and a bubble, like an invulnerability bubble, and Feign Death. Like, dude, Necros are stacked, guys. They are stacked. You know, people that are like, you know, Necros need more, then you need to go look at the other classes. Before the Necro gets anything new, every other class needs to get a lot of new stuff. Every other class. I think all healers should get res that suits them. Druid, instant cast, 0 XP res on 30-minute cooldown. Shaman, a buff that will res you if you die in X seconds or lets you continue fighting. I mean, I'm not against that. I'm not against that, Magicot. Like, that's just going to be a thing that the devs are going to have to decide if they want to put that into the game or not, right? Do the devs want clerics to be the only resers and paladins, or do they want other classes to have it? I think like an instant in combat type res thing might be good, but what's that gonna really do? Like, because you still have to, once you load in from a res, you still have to loot all of your stuff. You have to memorize your spells. It's not going to do much. So it's kind of a pointless thing. I do think, though, that like a 0% res on some classes could be nice, because it will allow you to get people back in combat, especially at low levels. You know, like if you don't have a cleric, well, cleric I don't even think gets their first res until what, level 20? So if you are down in the bottom of a dungeon and somebody dies, how do you get back down to the bottom of that dungeon, right? How do you get the players back down there? Everyone has to then go all the way out and fight all the way back down. So it'd be kind of nice to be able to res people, even with a 0%. They're the Bard of casters. You're talking about the Necromancers, the Bard of casters? Yeah. Bards right now are also really, really good. They have a lot of utility. But I don't think that bards are overpowered except for their charm. I think that's the only thing on a bard that really needs to be looked at and changed is their charm. I think everything else is fairly balanced on a bard. They're not doing like insane amounts of damage, but they allow your group to do insane amounts of damage with their mana regen, with their haste abilities. I think bards are in a pretty good spot if they were to tone down the charm. Necro is a fan favorite in EQ. Yeah. Them and Enchanter. Yep. Enchanter, actually, a lot of people don't know this. Enchanter, no one understood that class when it first released in EverQuest back in 1999. I was level 30. Actually, I was level 20-something, early 20s, when a friend of mine who was level 30 said, holy cow, dude, you need to level your Enchanter more. You need to come join us. We're going to power level you. No one understood the Enchanter until people started hitting level 30 as an Enchanter. Because way back when, Clarity didn't hit until level 30. And then the Mez wasn't really needed at all. Nobody used Mez until they got into Khazak Thul, I think. That's where my friends wanted it. They were in Khazak Thul, and they're like, dude, there's too many mobs in here. We need a Mezer. Up until that point, yeah, they're worthless. A lot more group utility for Monster's Memory Necro. There is a lot, yeah. Necro is on paper top raid DPS currently because they can burn and FD. Well, yeah. Right now, Necro stacking up their dots on a longer fight is huge. They stack up their dots and then they can FD, and then they can, they're never going to have to worry about pulling aggro because they can just stack up their dots and FD. I think bare minimum is 0% res for Shaman Druid, just reduce corpse recovery. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but that again is going to come up to the devs and if they want to do it. Battle res, where you bring in your stuff already looted, though. Well, that's what I think that the Necro res needs to be changed to. Right now, the Necro res is 100% res, and then you die again after 60 seconds. The problem is, you res somebody, they don't come in with their armor, they don't come in with their spells. It's going to take them most of that 60 seconds to get all of their stuff back. Then they also have to meditate and get mana back, and it's just, it's just ridiculous. I really like how EQ2 did reses. Each healer could summon a consumable item that can res the healer only for faster group recovery for a wipe. Have them FD. I like that. I played EQ2 a ton. Here's a thought I just had. What if a shaman had a non-res XP return? If you do run back, a shaman could return soul on the corpse, and if the corpse's owner is also nearby, they get back percentage of the XP. I mean, maybe. Bard is forced multiplayer in groups. Yeah, that's the issue with Bard, right? Bard right now is, I'm going to say it, the best soloer in the game because of their charm. Their charm makes them insanely good at solo. But the rest of their kit almost forces them to play in a group. So it's like, well, should Bard have that charm to be able to solo because the rest of their kit is made for a group? And it's a tough topic, really. I mean, I don't know. I don't like that charm is so strong. Bard needs some work. I would agree with that, Corbin. I think that Bard needs some work. Really want to keep res on Cleric Pally exclusive? Yeah, I mean, yeah. Didn't Enchanter not get Mez or something at the start? They did. I don't remember what level I got my first Mez spell as an Enchanter, but I didn't know what the heck it did. I didn't understand it. I think I got one in the early teens, but I didn't know how to use it. I think Shaman should get a different, yeah. I mean, I don't know. We could talk about res all day. Should Shaman and Druid get a res? I would say Druid, no. Definitely not Druid. The reason Druid shouldn't get it is because they're already super versatile. They already have so many things and they're dipping into other places. So I don't think they should get it. Shaman, I don't think should get their direct damage spells that Nick recently added. I think that took away from the other classes. Like, why did Shaman get direct damage? Because Druid have it. And that's kind of like saying, why would a Shaman or Druid get res? Because Cleric has it. Everybody's always going to say, well, this other class has it, I should have it. Battle res to be powerful. Cooldown only one class has. Otherwise, think about raids. Almost never have to wipe. Yeah. I think that maybe the shaman should have like an ability, like a spirit walk ability, right? That when you die, they can give it to the cleric, and then when the group wipes or raid wipes, the cleric can use that to do a spirit walk to be able to res back in and that kind of thing. But one vote for cleric pally only. Yeah. And that's the thing. We're all going to have different opinions on this. We're all going to have different opinions. I remember casting Mez on myself the first time I got it and side fell with, and the guard's killing you for it. Wow. I didn't do that. Why do you think dots are so weak relative to EQ? Well, yeah, mobs die too fast in Monsters and Memories. But are you saying that they're weak as in they don't do as much damage? I feel like dots and EQ were too strong in the raid situation because like they did so much damage, and fights, the time to kill in EverQuest was higher or longer than it is in Monsters and Memories. So dots were really powerful then. Don't worry, none of the shamans will mim those ice nukes. They have terrible efficiency. Yeah, they have terrible efficiency. I feel like what Nick did with some of those is he's trying, which I disagree with. I'm not saying that Nick's doing anything wrong. I just disagree with it. He's adding in meme specs because I feel like he's playing that meme spec on P99 green right now. So he's just having fun with it. And because he's having fun with it, he's like, ooh, we need to add more of that stuff to Monsters and Memories. And I'm okay with having meme specs. I think it's fun to have meme specs. I just don't think we need to be adding them in when other classes need more to their kit. We need to be making sure that all the kits are fleshed out and working properly, and then let people create meme specs. You know, once you create certain things, like the cleric, I don't think needs to have a summon hammer ability. I don't think they need that at all. If anything, the cleric should have been summoning a hammer that is a spell that they put on another character. So like they summon a hammer, and it's a hammer that continually attacks whatever target it is until that target is dead or until the cleric is dead. That to me should be the hammer cleric ability. Not I'm going to summon a hammer that has a holy proc on it, but has no other stats whatsoever. Clerics aren't going to need that. They're not going to want that other than meme spec. But that's just my take. Yeah. Druid should have a permanent pet summon, but you won't be seeing that happen. A permanent pet summon? They have a permanent pet. Druids do. Is that what you're talking about? Mobs die too fast and dots are nearly useless. They are, yeah. We talk about it often in our group. That time to kill is still too fast, I think. As a Shaman EQ1, I could ebb the use of other dot line and wouldn't even... yeah, you wouldn't want a DD spell. Shamans right now have, I think, equal to or the best dots in the game. I don't even think Necromancer's dots are as good as Shaman dots, are they? I haven't looked at the mana damage ratio to the two. I don't know. So the mobs die too fast. They definitely die too fast. Dots fine, but need balance with time to kill. Either less mana cost. Yeah, there's a couple of options that I heard people talk about with that. With dots, like they could have dots tick faster. They could also have dots. Every tick, it costs mana. So you cast it, only costs, let's say, 5 mana to cast the spell. And then every time it ticks damage, it takes a little bit of mana away from the caster. And if they run out of mana, the dot ends. Another one was the lower health that the mob has, the faster the damage ticks. Things of that nature. Druids are fine, maybe not quite the solar some people expect, but it's a really fun class. I think their solo ability went up a little bit with quad kiting, now that they have quad kiting. Summon Hammer is an absolute classic cleric spell, to be frank. Yes, I agree, Benjamin. I don't understand why... Well, you're talking about Summon Hammer for them to use, or Summon Hammer to attack an enemy? Like the Summon Hammer with no stats on it, though, when are clerics going to be meleeing in this game? There's really no reason for clerics to melee other than the meme spec. They should be sitting down, meditating, and healing as necessary. It's worthless, but it's an OG cleric spell. Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that. I just don't think that we need to be adding in worthless spells at this point when so many classes need spells to fill out their kit. There's a lot of classes that need the TLC. Clerics don't need to have a Summon Hammer spell. They could use other spells, though, to make them just feel better. Curious about food buffs, if they're intended, what's planned for them? I think they're intended eventually, yeah. I don't know, though. I would like to see food buffs. I mean, they have items in the game that you put in your inventory on your belt slot or backpack slot or whatever that give you buffs. So food buffs, I don't think are out of the question. I think they absolutely should add those. Shaman Disease Line is the most efficient, but Necro Poison Dot is highest DPS. Well, there you go. There you go. A lot of summons in D&D. Well, wasn't the D&D Summon Hammer? Isn't that just like a Summon Hammer that you can tell it to attack? It's not one that they hold in their hand. Like, I'm thinking Shillelagh, or whatever it's called, for the Druid. They summon a magical weapon that they can then use to hit things with. But clerics summon a magical hammer that they could control like a pet. That's how I always looked at it. When Nick first worked on Cleric Hammer, I thought it was going to be the Temp Pet Hammer to whack mobs. I thought it was too, Goonie, and it wasn't. It turned out to not be that. I think if people want a Battle Cleric, they should just create the class later down the road. Yeah, I agree. I think a Battle Cleric would be a good, like, AA thing. If they add in AAs down the road. Like, you could create the Cleric, and then you could spec into a Battle Cleric if you wanted to. But if you're going to be a Battle Cleric, why not just play a Paladin? I don't know. Seems kind of the thing to me. Wizards have been ignored for months. I agree with that. Yeah, wizards need a lot of love. They need a lot of love. What cleric in EQ and Monster Memory is more of a priest? Yeah, cleric in EQ and Eminem is more of a priest. I agree. Spiritual weapon. Is that what it's called? Spiritual weapon? Battle Cleric wouldn't be a tank spec? I mean, maybe. If they're wearing plate and they have a shield, they could be a tank. I think it all really depends on your views, you know? We're all coming into this with preconceived notions of what cleric or what classes should be. Right? We all have these like, oh, well, in D&D, my cleric did this. In World of Warcraft, my cleric did this. In EverQuest, my cleric did this. Which one of those should Monsters and Memories be? Right now, it's more EverQuest. But could a cleric be more like D&D, or could it be more like anything? I like the unique things too. I'm all for that. Monk has a group heal. It does. Monk does have a group heal. In D&D, I thought it was a summoned weapon clerics can create. It was a strong weapon too. Maybe the hammer could proc a group heal. Well, D&D had summon weapon. So D&D 5e summon weapon cleric. Spiritual weapon allows the cleric to summon a spectral weapon that they can control in battle. So they're not wielding it, they control it. They tell it where to go. Spell can be, and this is huge because it was a bonus action. So they could literally heal you and summon a spectral thing, and then they can move it as a bonus action later on. It's a really good way to add damage to clerics in D&D. They could probably also summon a hammer to use. Like a dumb fire pet. Yeah, like a it's kind of like the druid flame sphere. It's kind of like that. Druids summon a flame sphere. They can move it around and tell it to attack things. It's similar to that. Spirit guardians. Yeah, the only problem with spirit guardians is they just stand in one spot. You can't move those, right? The spirit guardian. They literally just stand there, and anything that comes within range, they attack it. Life Cleric is way different than Warforged. That's hard to replicate in an MMO like this. Well, it's easy to replicate, but they would need to do like World of Warcraft style of different specs. Like have 3 different specs that you can have on your cleric. You have a Life Cleric. You could have, a Warforged Cleric or whatever. They would have to do that. So I personally don't want that. Like, I like that in WoW, and I think it's neat because it allows people to spec differently. But I don't know. I feel like in Monsters and Memories, I want your class to be good at something, and that's what your class, and that's your job as your class. I like that from EverQuest personally. And then you don't like, oh, well, I'm going to spec into this, I'm going to spec into that, and I don't know. But I feel like the reason I like that is because it allows people, or allows the devs to then create the itemization for those a little bit easier, and they know what those roles are going to be doing in a group. But that's my opinion. AoE around the caster, where the caster goes, they go. Oh, is that what that one is? Oh, the spirit. Yes, and it's like the spirits are moving around and attacking things in the area. You have to give other classes options too. It just doesn't feel like the direction. Yeah, I think the direction they want to go is they want to make every class feel special. A cleric is going to be the best healer in the game. They're going to be able to resurrect people. That's going to be their thing. They're going to be like really, really good at that, but garbage at something else. And I personally like that. It makes it to where it's easier to make the classes feel special in given situations. The wizard being really high direct damage spells, but they have a mana pool so they could run out, makes them really good burst characters. They can burst down enemies very, very quickly, but they're going to run out, and then they are worthless after they run out. Most useful cleric pet would be some kind of spirit that spawns when the cleric dies and heals the group. So they have that with the paladin. It doesn't spawn when the paladin dies, but the paladin can summon a whatchamacallit. Hey, thank you so much for the sub, Achilles. Appreciate it. Go back to Necro. They had a lot of utility and abilities to solo, but when it came to raids, they were just mana battery. Yeah, but Necros did a lot of damage in longer fights because they could dot everybody up. Glad to hop in and see you streaming. Yeah, we're going to be doing these every Monday and Friday, I think. So every Monday and Friday, it's just going to be a Monsters and Memories discussion stream where we're just going to chat about Monsters and Memories, what we like, what we don't like, some of our ideas. It seems to be going well so far. I think people get hung up on the fact that everyone has to be able to do everything. They've seen it for a long time in other MMOs. Yeah, I agree, Nate. I 100% agree. I like it that the class dependencies, like you're saying, me as a fighter tank, I am really good as a tank, right? I can take hits, but I can't heal myself. So I need to have, I rely on a healer. Have to have a healer. I personally like that. I was going to look at tanks today and see what people were saying about them. So fighter, threat. We already looked at these. There's nothing new. Nothing new here with fighter. Let's look at the Inquisitor. Spell Steal. I'm all for Spell Steal. What do you guys think about that? I think Spell Steal is awesome. Nick talked about that on one of his streams not too long ago. He talked about Spell Steal, and he was like, yeah, but then you can steal spells from raid bosses and stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, but you could just flag those spells as not being stealable, right? But I think Spell Steal is huge. One of my favorite things that I've done in Monster Memories so far is creating charts with my friends about classes should be. I got 2 friends that I'll be playing with. Min-maxing our group to bring the most on the table. Yeah. Simulacrum would be nice for Inquisitor. I mean, I think Inquisitor needs a few things. They have it. They have Spell Steal in Pantheon, so it shouldn't be too difficult to do. Similar Enchanter using a strong bomb. Yeah. I don't know. I think Spell Steal would be fun. Self-sustain, 100% disagree. Inquisitors as a caster tank need a way to self-sustain. The other casting tanks can keep themselves alive provided they want to dump their mana into heals, taps. And as an Enchanter Fighter hybrid, I don't think it is outside the realm of possibility for an Inquisitor to use runes as a means of self-sustain. Give Inquisitor some physical damage runes. I mean, they could give them physical damage runes, I guess. I don't know, though. I don't think Inquisitors need self-sustain. I mean, if you want self-sustain, play a Paladin. That's what makes the Paladin just so, like, stand out. They have that self-sustain. Every class should have their primary role. I agree. Role they can flex into as subpar. Maybe, yeah. Inquisitor is an example of primary role, subpar, dedicated CC. They can do it until an Enchanter Bard shows up. Yeah, I could see that. Fighter, Cleric, Beastmaster is what we're right now. I would change your Cleric to Shaman. That's just my take. But you're going to get some overlap with the Shaman Beastmaster if you do that. But if I were to make like a perfect trio right now, it would be probably SK, Shaman, and then Rogue or Spellblade or Archer. Yeah. That's what I would do. To make a really good trio. There's this weird push-pull, needing other classes for buff mechanics groups. But what do you do when you can't get them? Are you supposed to feel useless? I mean, yeah, that is a point. That's a good point. But I think they need... Somebody keeps saying less is more. I keep seeing that in different streams and different places. Less is more. And we need to have, in my opinion, we need to have classes that rely on other classes to encourage more grouping. Because every time you add in an ability to a class that allows it to do something another class does, you're taking away grouping from them, and you're making grouping less important. And I feel like in a game like Monsters and Memories, it should be all about wanting to group up, wanting to say, hey, I'm really good at this, you're really good at this other thing, let's group up and combine our forces to create Voltron and this, unstoppable force. That's how I look at it. Every role should be really good at what they do, but rely on another class to really bring out the potential. Make bandages, plenty of sustain there. You can't really do that in mid-fight. I don't see that. That was my thought. Beastmaster gets a lot of the Shaman spells a little bit later. They do. Shaman does not have Mez, no. Beastmaster does get the Shaman spells a little bit later, but you have to think once you hit like level 40 or 50 on a Shaman, Beastmaster's never going to get any of those spells after that. So like the haste spells, the slow spells, those kinds of things, they're never gonna get the best haste. They're not gonna get the best slow. They're not gonna get the best buffs. That's why and the cleric, what's the cleric really bringing to that group? They're bringing res and they're bringing heals, whereas the shaman can heal. I don't know. It's all a matter of preference though. Between the small team size and the development approach, I expect a long period of broken gameplay before the issues are even ironed out. Yeah, there's already a lot of broken gameplay. I already agree. I was surprised that Druid is getting the AoE spells. Well, that was more of a throwback to EverQuest. It doesn't surprise me at all. Those AoE spells are great when you're solo, but very few people use AoE in a group. There's really no point in using AoE in a group. Most tanks can't keep threat on more than one, but I would say 2, 3 tops, and a tank is going to struggle with keeping threat if you're trying to nuke them down. If an Inquisitor just looked at you and said unlimited power while holding out his hands and having a twinkle in his eye, what the heck? That screams Inquisitor to me. That screams Jedi or Sith Lord to me. Had to ask if Wizard is getting more AoE spells because prior to Nick's stream, the AoE lines stop at 30. Wizard got AoE nukes all the way up to level 60 on Nick's stream. Just like every caster complaining. Then they ask for some mana. Yeah. But yeah, Wizards get nukes or AoEs all the way up to level 60. And Druids get them up to level 56. They are, from what I can tell, fairly mana efficient if you're quad kiting, but you're not going to be doing that in a group. You're just going to be quad kiting, and it's going to cost you all of your mana probably to take down a quad kite group. Like you're going to be constantly nuking, assuming things don't get resisted a bunch. Like it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. Someone in the Wizard thread was asking about how AoE in groups. You don't. Yeah, you don't AoE in groups. I don't want them to do that. I feel like if they start adding in AoE in groups, that's just going to be the best way to group. They're just every group is going to be like, hey, I want 3 wizards, an enchanter, a tank, and a healer. Right? And everybody's just gonna want AoE burn groups for their XP. If you make it too good, everybody's gonna want it. When I did quad or even solo or trio kiting, need 80% of my mana. Yeah. But think about it this way: like a wizard's gonna be very good for that because they're gonna use up all their mana, and it's gonna take a while to kill those 4 mobs. Then they have their ability that regenerates like every 10 minutes. They can use their ability to get a lot of mana back. So they're going to be able to use a lot of their mana, get their mana back, meditate for a little amount of time, get 4 more mobs, rinse and repeat. It's going to be really good. Slow is just different type of heal and one that fits well for an Inquisitor kit. Pally get heal, SK life taps. Inquisitor should get an attack speed debuff. That is all. Okay, what about fighters? This person clearly wants Paladin, Shadow Knight, and Inquisitor to be equal, which are only 3 of the 4 tanks. So you gotta factor that in too. Not everyone should get everything. I'm sorry. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Not everyone should get everything. Fighters get bonks. Yeah. Fighters get higher AC already. They do not. Fighters get 5% damage reduction. That is it. They get nothing else better tank-wise than any of the other classes. They do not get more AC. They can just mitigate 5% more if they are in defensive stance. So they have to be in defensive stance to get 10%, whereas Paladins and Shadow Knights always have a 5% up. So it's 5% difference. It's literally it. For the cost of healing, the life taps, the pets, lay on hands, mezzes, you name it. Fighters have more DPS. Well, they have about the same DPS as Shadow Knights, but they have more DPS than Paladin and Inquisitor. Fighter doesn't interest you? It doesn't interest most people because they don't get much. Seriously. They don't get much. Wizard AoE will hit yourself if you don't hit all four. Yeah, you need to be away from them, right? Wizards need to be very careful. My friend has killed himself multiple times on a wizard. He has one-shot himself by nuking. It's crazy. Reminds me of AoE group and Chardock at the entrance, 2k per pull. Yeah. I did that at one point as an enchanter. So I was an enchanter, then a cleric, and then 4 wizards. And they invited me to their group, and they said, hey, we're going to pull, and all we need you to do is AoE stun. I said, okay. So they pulled the entire zone, and then I AoE stunned, just chain stun while they're just chain nuking. This game is going to probably be an issue for real life. You're going to dive in so hard. I mean, we talked about that previously. Be careful. I'm all there with you. I'm going to be diving in super hard as well. But be careful. Make sure you touch grass every now and then. Talk to your family, etc. I love that certain situations call for, and I'm very bad about that myself, by the way. So I am, pot calling the kettle black here. When I get engrossed into a game, I lose sight of everything else around me. So I'm very, very bad about it. Hey, what's going on, Duff? How you doing, bud? Love certain situations call for certain specialists. Not everything is fair. That's why you roll an alt to experience different parts of the game. Yeah, I agree. I'll probably have at least 1, maybe 2 alts. My main will be a fighter at this point, though. Even though the fighter doesn't have heals, and even though it's only a 5% damage reduction difference, I still am going to play fighter, probably. Can't touch grass, you spawn in the desert. Don't we all? It's weird. Nah, there's some great places in this game that you can go and find. Great places. Fighter's fun? You think so, Muzzle? I like my fighter. I don't have any issues with it. I just feel like, we need to take shoot. It needs to be removed, which it is, but needs to be removed from the ability bar because it shouldn't be on there. But fighter has a lot of abilities that you got to kind of pick and choose which ones you want. I know what fighters should get over every tank. They look the best in plate. Who doesn't want to look best? Yes, absolutely. Now, fighters, in my opinion, should get just better defense than all the other tanks, which right now it's 5%. I think it needs to be a little bit higher. I think they need to have more active abilities, not just the one active ability defense, because to me, that is equal to that of Paladin's Lay on Hands or the Shadow Knight Sacrifice Minion ability. Those 3 things are fairly equal, all things considered. Inquisitor doesn't have them. If you were to ask me, I think that the Inquisitor should be the one that gets the DPS tank. They should be the higher DPS tank. But that's just my opinion. I think Inquisitors have some really cool stuff. But, you know, Inquisitor has best of all. They control the battlefield. They do have a lot. Inquisitor has a lot, and they're overlooked. Playing to be a wizard, even though there seems to be some contention with them in groups. Wizard is going to get an overlook. Absolutely, Wizard is going to get an overlook because they don't need to be meleeing. Like a melee wizard, I like the idea of it, but when are they going to meditate? And you don't want to have to swing, sit, swing, sit, swing, sit. It's really tedious gameplay. Back in my day, fighters were glad they got taunt that worked 30% of the time. You kids want it all. It's true, Setford. It's true. Back in my day, all I could do was taunt and kick. They were terrible, man. But they could tank. They were beast tanks for sure. They were beast tanks. We're all against spellcasters. Other than that, no DPS. You know, it's funny. It's funny to me in games like this. When the game first launches in early access, I'm going to call it now. This is what's going to happen. You're going to see about 70%. Well, you're going to see probably a good 50% of players playing a tank, and a good 30% of players playing a healer, and 20% of players playing a DPS. Within a month, you're going to see 90% of people playing DPS, about 3% playing a tank, and about 7% playing a healer. That's what's going to happen. It happens in every single MMO I have ever played. Ever. And I'm talking World of Warcraft, EverQuest, what's it, like Blue Protocol that just came out, MMO. Every single MMO I've ever played is up front. Everyone wants to be a tank or a healer because they're like, I'm going to be able to get a group and I'm going to be blah 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 blah, and they're going to do all these things. And then a month or so in, everybody's playing DPS. I can't remember the name, but the long cooldown fighter defense ability has saved a group from a wipe more than once. Good time. It's called defense. Yeah, it's literally called defense, muzzle. It's 40% damage reduction for 30 seconds. Very good ability. Absolutely. But it's not really any different than, say, lay on hands for a paladin. Paladin gets really low on health. Boom, lay on hands, full health. Shadow Knight having their pet be sacrifice pet to get a huge shield. It's kind of the same thing. Was this the case in Pantheon? Yes. Yeah, it was the case in Pantheon. What I see when I talk about everybody wants to play a tank up front, a lot of people, at least this is my opinion of it, they see tanks as being the focal point of a group, and everybody wants to be that, right? They want to be up front. They want to be the most recognized person in a group, whether they say they want it or not. It's just human nature, and it just kind of comes out. So people want to play a tank, but they soon realize a tank is one of the most demanding roles. I would say tank and healer are the two most demanding roles in a group. And in this type of game, when we have sandwich combat, people don't want to have a demanding role. They don't want to have to pay attention for 600 hours of grinding XP to get to level 60. They want to be able to just kind of look over at a screen, click a button every now and then, watch a movie in the background, etc. Tanks and healers can't do that. Because DPS, all they have to do is assist tank, do damage. But then they quickly learn that it's draining on you to be a tank or a healer in these types of games. It's very, very draining. I think that'll result in a wider variety of classes in the long run. In what will? Wizard already has mana regen from executing mobs with their spells, so probably don't want to double dip. Wait, oh, I must have missed the first part of that. Yeah, wizards right now are that you want to kill a mob and you want to get as close to getting that perfect kill shot. So a lot of people don't understand the wizard and how they work. A wizard nuking a mob and getting last hit, if they have their buff up, gives them mana back. But let's say they have 500 health left and your nuke does 1,000 damage and you kill it. You're not really close to that perfect kill shot, so you only get some of that mana back. If they have 1,000 health and you do 1,000 damage and get that perfect kill shot, you get basically 100% of the mana back. So you want to try to get a perfect kill shot, and that's very hard to do consistently. Very, very hard to do. Absolutely needs to be a two-handed specialist class like a barbarian or berserker. I agree with that. I would rather them take away the DPS stuff from the fighter class, give them more defensive capabilities, more utility like a hamstring. I like their armor debuff, right? The fighter armor debuff is very, very nice. I want to have more things like that as a fighter, or ways to lower the DPS of the enemies, and then add in a berserker or barbarian type of class that has the triple attack and the crit attack and uses two-handed weapons, the charge ability. The fighter having the charge ability, I could take it or leave it. Doesn't really bother me. 6-7. But yeah, I think a berserker class needs to be in the game, and then they should wear chain at best, probably leather armor or chain at best, and be really strong. The merciless assault or merciless attack or whatever it's called for the fighter also should be a barbarian ability, I feel like. But Bard and Chainer, good group, are extremely demand. Yes, I think that a Bard and Chainer are close to required in a group at high level, especially. Absolutely. I think a lot of us can agree on that. The change to Dominate Mind, going 15 seconds to 1 minute, has been amazing for the Inquisitor. I agree. That's huge. I love that. Went from useless 30-minute cooldown to then never put it on your bar. Saved a party multiple times. Yeah, it's huge. Absolutely love it. Most of the time, groups can recover from a bad DPS, but a bad tank or healer is usually death. That's true as well, Malik. It's another reason I think that people burn out on tanks, because their group expects more out of a tank and expects more out of a healer, and they just burn out very quickly. Plus, if you're not at the forefront, if you're not in the beginning stages, look at it like in EverQuest. If you played a fighter in EverQuest, you got overlooked a lot by other tanks because other tanks brought more utility to the group. But then at the high end, you wanted one warrior in your raid or in your guild that just main tanked everything. Every other warrior is just like, well, these are kind of garbage. This is like early on in EverQuest, right? I think now in later EverQuest, warriors became much better DPS, and then you also had to off-tank more things, so you had more use for a warrior to have multiple of them. But early on, one warrior was all your entire guild needed. And I think that's another thing, is if you create a warrior in the beginning and you are not that one warrior in the end, then every other warrior is just kind of worthless. But I think that's what Nick is trying to do with the fighter class in Monsters and Memories, is he's saying, well, if you're not main tanking, you go into offensive stance and you can actually be pretty good DPS as a warrior. And then you can switch to defensive stance to off tank as needed, and then switch back mid-fight. I think that's where he's trying to go with it, which is it's a good thing, because you're only going to probably have one main tank of your guild, right? There's very few situations where you have multiple different tanks that are geared equally to where you can say, okay, whoever wants to main tank this, main tank it. But it does happen, and it can happen. I think the game needs one or two more chain-wearing classes right now. I would agree with that, Setfer, and I think a Berserker would be a good one for that. Have them wear chains so they're not really good tanks, but they could off-tank in a pinch. That kind of thing. Only mob has 500 HP left, but you only do 499 and the rogue kills it? Yes, that happens too. That happens a lot. Bard should be one of them. Are bards only leather in this game? I was kind of surprised. Or can they wear plate? Like, I'd be surprised if they couldn't wear plate, because EverQuest they could. Only leather? Okay. I mean, I don't think they should have ever worn plate in the first place. I thought that was kind of silly, but... do you think they may underestimate the player count in early access launch? It may just be a bubble. Be a lot more players jumping in than expected. I think right now my estimate is 20 to 30,000 subscribers. So 20 to 30,000 total players if they launch today. But that number is going to go up in the next 6 months. So I don't think they're necessarily underestimating it. I think they're just keeping an eye on it to see where it's going to be as they get closer, and then they're going to make decisions based on it. That's why we don't know how many servers we're going to have. They want 1,000 concurrent players per server. If we have 30,000 players, they're going to have 30 servers, right? So I think they're just waiting to see what's going to happen. So we'll see. We'll see. Is Archer chain? I thought Archer was leather. I don't know for sure. I haven't played an Archer. So for the Heroes of Monster Memories, what would their best duo be? Does it matter? Shaman with Shadow Knight or Fighter is probably the best, one of the better duos. Shaman with another melee class is one of the best duos. Monk, Shadow Knight, Fighter would be my top 3 choices. Well, Spellblade and Spellblade. Those 4 classes are amazing duo with a shaman. Probably the best duo that you could come up with. I don't know. Maybe you guys can come up with a better duo, but I doubt it. Missed almost 3 hours. You're going to have to catch the rewatch? Nah, you're good, Valen. We haven't really talked about much. We haven't talked about much. Let's look at Paladin. What are people saying about Paladin? Defining the Paladin class. This could be a fun little convo. I think the Paladin should not follow the EverQuest model of weak hybrid warrior cleric, undesired to most groups. I have a friend that would have a bone to pick with anybody that says this. I have a friend that plays Paladin, loves Paladin. He played Paladin in EverQuest multiple times, and that's just kind of his go-to class. And he would argue that the Paladin is weak at all. He would very much argue that it's weak. I'm going to play a Paladin come early access, or not early access, come beta in March 1st. I'm going to play a Paladin unless I know somebody that is playing a Paladin, like that I'm close with. So, yeah, I'll let you know. I will let you know. Nick mentioned putting a plate chest pieces for Bard, but the rest would stay leather. That could be interesting, I guess. I just don't see why. I don't understand why. The thing is, though, like, do they have to do it that way? They don't. They could have certain pieces of gear drop that a Bard can use that are just not leather. You know, they don't have to say, oh, because it's leather, it goes to a certain class. That's more of a World of Warcraft thing. You can absolutely have... Like, there was a plate bracer, if I remember correctly, in EverQuest that casters could use. And it was really high armor class, and it had some caster stats on it. They don't have to stick to, you know, certain things. Let's see. What else is he saying about this? To that end, the Paladin should have melee-based healing. They do. They do have melee-based healing. Melee-based anti-undead, I think they do with their smite, right? I don't think it's necessarily anti-undead. Auras that stack with other class buffs, they do. It's armor class buff. I don't know what this person's asking for. They have these things. Nick is streaming now? Well, that's actually perfect because we can go raid him if he started streaming. Loving Robot said a couple days ago that the server caps can be higher as players are spread across more zones. Yes, once they start spreading it out, they're gonna be able to have higher player caps. It's gonna be 1,000 players is what they're looking at, 1,000 concurrent for the start of early access, and then they're going to evaluate it as they get farther in. Hopping over to Twitch, see you there? Yeah, if Nick is streaming, we're just going to go raid him, guys. Let's see. Stick around. Hang on. Give me 1 second. Let me see if he's actually streaming. Some people said that he was streaming one time and I was streaming and he wasn't. He wasn't streaming, so I want to make sure. I don't see him on. Nick Hotz. Yeah, he is live. Oh, software and development. Okay, yeah, he's in software and development. Cool. Yeah. Why don't we all go, he's streaming in software and development. So why don't we go ahead and go, we're all gonna raid Nick. I think I can do it from here. So yeah, everybody have a wonderful day. We'll be doing this again on Friday, because I'm going to try to do it every Monday and Friday, just chatting about stuff and hanging out, having a good time. So probably look at doing this again on Friday. But yeah, go raid Nick. Have fun. Let me see if this works. That didn't work. Why did that not work? Let me try to do it from the actual thing. I don't know why that didn't work. Yeah, raid username. It should work. Do I have to do @? There we go. We're raiding Nick. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you later.